Chapter 40:11. At this moment, Fang Chen's heart was filled with doubts. Why did those who entered the abyss die in the end? Anyone who was recognized by the first emissary and pushed into the abyss was from the chaotic realm. It was already extremely difficult for them to survive in the origin world where enemies were everywhere, so why did they die? This was the question that Fang Chen was most puzzled and worried about. Most importantly, he wasn't sure what role the bald monk played in all this, and whether he had anything to do with the fall of those from the chaotic realm who entered the abyss. Therefore, before confirming the bald monk's identity, Fang Chen maintained sufficient vigilance. Seeing this, the bald monk smiled slightly. Over the years, he had witnessed countless geniuses enter the abyss and come before him. Like Fang Chen, they maintained sufficient vigilance, which was a good thing. "Didn't you ask me who the master of the Great Snowy Mountain is?" The bald monk did not directly answer Fang Chen's question and instead smiled. Fang Chen frowned in confusion. "I am not the master of the Great Snowy Mountain, but I can control everything in the Great Snowy Mountain." Fang Chen's heart trembled. The bald monk had been in the abyss for a long time and could not return to the Great Snowy Mountain. How did he control the Great Snowy Mountain? According to him, although he was not the master of the Great Snowy Mountain, he could control everything in the Great Snowy Mountain. Did this mean that the bald monk was the mastermind behind the Great Snowy Mountain? Then, who was the master of the Great Snowy Mountain? Could it be the first emissary who served him? Thinking of the first emissary, Fang Chen's heart trembled violently. His eyes widened as he stared at the bald monk. He felt that it was somewhat inconceivable. "Your guess is correct. The master of the Great Snowy Mountain in name is the first emissary who sent you into the abyss," the bald monk said with a smile. Although he had guessed it, hearing the bald monk say it with his own ears still made him extremely shocked. He is the master of the Great Snowy Mountain? In other words, the experts of the Great Snowy Mountain did not know about this matter. They had always thought that the master of the Great Snowy Mountain was cultivating in seclusion, but in reality, the master of the Great Snowy Mountain had always been in front of them. He was the mysterious first emissary who rarely went out. Whoosh! Fang Chen took a deep breath. His heart raced as he recalled his first meeting with the first emissary. He shook his head forcefully. At that time, he was also very curious about how the first emissary knew that he would go to the Great Snow Mountain and was waiting for him at the foot of the mountain. latest update. Now, he finally understood. The first emissary must have been sent out like the other emissaries to track his whereabouts. He had been to the place where the other emissaries had fallen and sensed the aura of the chaotic realm left in the void. Therefore, he was certain that Yi Futian was from the chaotic realm and waited for him at the foot of the snow mountain. Whoosh! He must have used this method to transport countless people from the chaotic realm into the abyss. Thinking of this, Fang Chen raised his head and stared at the bald monk with his pitch-black eyes. Compared to his identity as the master of the Great Snowy Mountain, he was more curious about who this bald monk was. However, it was clear that the bald monk did not intend to say it out loud. There are some things that you do not need to know before the time is ripe. Aren't you curious as to why those people that entered the abyss died? The bald monk asked. Senior, those are our compatriots from the chaotic realm. Why did they die? Is there a test here? That was the only explanation that made sense. The bald monk nodded. That's right. Back then, I led the establishment of the Great Snowy Mountain. Everyone thought that we were just a special tribe. No one knew that a stronghold of the chaotic realm was hidden in the depths of the Great Snowy Mountain. At this point, the bald monk's expression was clearly a little lonely. Obviously, the stronghold had been destroyed long ago and he was the only one who had survived. The source world is too powerful. The devouring demon clan has been trying to devour our damaged chaotic realm. If we do not rise up and fight back, we will definitely be completely destroyed in the future. The bald monk said, therefore, the purpose of the Great Snowy Mountain's existence is to find our compatriots who have infiltrated the source world without any support. In fact, the Great Snowy Mountain's kill order had found many experts who had infiltrated the chaotic realm over the years. Those who could enter the abyss were less than 1 in 10,000. Unfortunately, they all died in the test. What test? Fang Chen asked. The test was left behind by those people back then. They used the powerful heavenly Tao power of the source world to defy the heavens and change fate. They successfully transformed this abyss into a blessed land and grotto heaven. There are countless secret cultivation techniques left behind. As long as you pass their test, you can cultivate as you wish. The bald monk said slowly. In fact, this was a trial for the people of the chaotic realm. If they could not even pass these tests, they would definitely die at the hands of the devouring demon clan of the source world. Whoosh! Fang Chen's eyes were burning. He suddenly began to pray for the test. The top experts of the chaotic realm must have left behind some top cultivation techniques and secret techniques. Senior, how many tests are there? Fang Chen asked. Since he was already here, there was only one way to go, and that was to pass the test. Otherwise, he would be turned into a pile of dirt like those who had come before him. That's right. The bald monk was full of praise for Fang Chen. At least his performance was much better than those who had come before him. There are a total of 3 tests. You must pass all of them before you can enter the blessed land and grotto heaven. The bald monk reminded. The 3 tests were very difficult. The slightest carelessness could lead to death. He wanted Fang Chen to think carefully before accepting the test. But the latter agreed without any hesitation. I have a heavy responsibility on my shoulders. I must sharpen myself on the edge of life and death. Only then can I have a chance to step into the chaotic realm and save the people of the chaotic realm, Fang Chen said. From the moment he decided to listen to the Supreme Sovereign's instructions and reincarnate into the source world, he was no longer fighting alone. He had countless compatriots of the chaotic realm behind him supporting him. His family, wife, daughter, and good brothers were all waiting for him. There was not much luck left in the chaotic realm. Once the devouring demon clan's patriarch came out of seclusion, he would certainly draw out the last trace of luck. At that time, the entire chaotic realm would fall into a state of chaotic nothingness and automatically disintegrate. The people of the chaotic realm would completely disappear in the long river of history. This was not what he wanted to see, nor was it what the experts of the chaotic realm wanted to see. Although the enemy was very strong, they had not given up and had been working hard to resist. As a person of the chaotic realm, how could Fang Chen shrink back? Senior, begin the test. End of chapter. Chapter 40:12. Abyss, Cave Abode. The bald monk put his palms together like a Buddhist monk. His body exuded a terrifying golden light. He closed his eyes and kept chanting, as if he was praying for Fang Chen. After all the people from the chaotic realm who had come here before had died. He wanted to know if he could meet someone who could pass the test in his lifetime. Cough cough. On the surface, the bald monk was brimming with vitality and blood. However, only he knew that he was no longer as brave as he was in the past. Moreover, his blood had dried up, showing signs of decay. He had been guarding this place all this time for the sake of that unextinguishable light in his heart. He was waiting for a miracle to appear. At this time, the bald monk was still chanting the profound Buddhist Dharma as usual, praying for the person who passed the test. Buzz. Fang Chen only felt his head shake violently. The next moment, he sat on the ground like a walking corpse. His primordial spirit of the Tao manifestation realm left his body and entered a special independent space. This space was the space to participate in the test. Buzz. The moment he entered the space, his primordial spirit transformed into an illusory figure that was exactly the same as his original body. This is... Fang Chen was shocked. What kind of space was this? How could the primordial spirit transform into an illusory figure of the original body? Moreover, what shocked him even more was that the illusory figure of the primordial spirit was able to display all the abilities of the original body. Is this real? Fang Chen was full of doubts. At the same time, he controlled the illusory figure of the primordial spirit to explore ahead. What was the test? Buzz. Just as he was deep in thought, 2 illusory figures suddenly appeared on the endless grassland. Swoosh. The 2 illusory figures, with extremely terrifying power, instantly shot towards Fang Chen. They wanted to kill Fang Chen. Bang bang bang. Seeing this, Fang Chen's body flashed and he subconsciously moved his body to the side. He cleverly dodged the two's attacks. However, what shocked him was that the two's attacks were extremely profound. He had never seen such an attack before. What kind of attack is this? His heart was filled with tempestuous waves. Were the two illusory figures of the primordial spirit? Where were their original bodies? If it was as Fang Chen guessed, then what kind of space was this? Could it be that this was a test for him? Swoosh. In the beginning, Fang Chen was a little hasty. However, as he gradually adapted to the situation, he launched a counterattack. He held a long sword in his hand and performed an ultimate sword technique. Beams of incredible sword light shot out and overlapped in the void, condensing into a sword light that was tens of thousands of feet long. Under the sword radiance contained the vast ultimate power of ultimate power. Faced with two very special enemies, Fang Chen performed his ultimate skill. His ultimate power combined with his ultimate sword technique, and his prowess increased by at least 100 times. Just one sword strike had pierced through the void. However, what shocked Fang Chen was that his ultimate sword technique had only pierced through the void. This unique space didn't vibrate at all. Fang Chen was stupefied. Wasn't this space a little too sturdy? With his 11th order true saint realm cultivation, if he attacked with all his might, his ultimate sword technique and ultimate sword technique would reach an unprecedented level of penetrating power. Even the origin world would be shaken. However, this independent space remained motionless. This scene made Fang Chen even more puzzled. Poochie. As if sensing Fang Chen's strength, the two figures looked at each other and a cold killing intent flashed in their eyes. Then, their palms collided. Peng, 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 peng. A series of explosions resounded in the sky. At the same time, the two figures charged at Fang Chen with a vast power. Swoosh. Fang Chen was shocked. He couldn't care less. His Dao manifestation realm primordial spirit released a powerful soul force that condensed into two soul needles and shot at the two figures. Poochie. Sure enough, the two figures' primordial spirits were damaged. Although their battle strength was strong and their battle techniques were unique, their primordial spirits had yet to reach the Dao manifestation realm. Fang Chen took advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to condense two soul needles and penetrate their heads. Their faces twisted as they screamed in pain. Their bodies trembled violently and gradually collapsed. When the two figures collapsed, bloodstains appeared on the ground. Moreover, their soul aura lingered in the void. What's going on? Fang Chen frowned. Although he had defeated his enemies, he was even more puzzled. Did their primordial spirits enter this independent space to fight him? If he defeated them in this independent space, would their primordial spirits in the outside world also die? A series of questions surfaced in his mind. However, no one could answer his questions. Dong. A rumbling sound entered Huang Xiaolong's ears as a towering mountain peak appeared in the distant horizon. A ray of light shot out from the peak. At the same time, a look of joy appeared on Fang Chen's face. The ray of light on the mountain peak meant that he had passed the first test. Next, he would have a period of rest. Once he recovered, he would continue to advance. The second test awaited him ahead. He had consumed a lot of energy in the battle just now and needed to recover as soon as possible. He simply sat on the ground and began to recover. Using soul force had consumed too much of his primordial spirit. His body was becoming more and more illusory. This made Fang Chen realize that this independent space required an endless supply of soul force to maintain. As long as the soul force was below the standard value, the figure would collapse. He recalled what the bald monk had said to him. Previously, many people from the chaotic realm had come here to participate in the test, but they had all failed in the end. The result of failure was death. Suddenly, a thought came to his mind. Could it be that when the figure collapsed, the body in the outside world would also truly die? He realized how terrifying this independent space was. Were those two people born just for the checkpoint? Or were they from ancient times who accidentally entered here and were trapped here forever? Fang Chen muttered to himself. At this time, in the outside world, The bald monk opened his eyes and a smile appeared on his face. In any case, Fang Chen had passed the first test and was very vigilant. He did not underestimate his opponent. This was a good start. He hoped that he would succeed. Little guy, if you can pass the test, you will find that the endless years of bitter cultivation are nothing but a frog in a well. There is always someone better than you. The road of martial arts is endless. End of chapter. Chapter 40:13. Fang Chen was shocked by the first test. Would the illusory figure formed by his primordial spirit in this unique space be affected if it was injured? He even thought about what the bald monk had said about the people from the chaotic realm who had entered the abyss and died in the test. Was that the same situation? A series of doubts surfaced in his mind. Fortunately, he had successfully passed the first checkpoint. Although the process was somewhat dangerous, he had finally succeeded. Now, he was thinking about whether the two phantoms were real living people or not. Or were they just guardians created by the owner of the test? Hiss. Fang Chen sat down cross-legged, adjusting his body's condition. The ultimate power in his body slowly circulated, radiating continuously from his abdomen. Soon, it spread to every corner of his body. His face gradually turned ruddy, and the Tao manifestation level Yuan spirit in his mind frantically absorbed the experience of the battle just now. A few days later, Fang Chen had adjusted his body to the best state. He continued to move forward according to the bald monk's instructions. After entering the test, as long as he passed the test, he would continue to move forward until he reached the end. Only then would he be considered to have passed. At a glance, there was no end in sight. However, he kept a close eye on his surroundings. As long as there was any movement, he would be the first to notice it. Hiss. After walking for about 1,000 kilometers, the second test finally appeared. However, to his surprise, the test this time was not to fight the illusory figure, but to test his physical strength. Boom! A stairway to heaven appeared in front of him. The stairway was 99 meters long. At the front of the stairway stood an illusory figure. With a wave of his sleeve, a brand new stele appeared beside the stairway. On the stele, there were many words. Fang Chen looked at it and realized that the second test was to successfully pass the 99-meter-long stairway. Once you step on the stairway, there is no turning back. Have you thought about it? The illusory figure's emotionless voice sounded in Fang Chen's mind. Fang Chen nodded. Then, he took a step forward and stepped onto the staircase. However, the moment he brushed past the illusory figure, he suddenly asked, "Senior, may I ask if you've also projected your primordial spirit here?" The moment Fang Chen said that, the illusory figure frowned. His expression seemed somewhat displeased. He did not answer Fang Chen's question. Instead, he scolded sternly, "You are just a tester. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask." As soon as he finished speaking, the illusory figure disappeared. The surroundings of the stairway to heaven were blurry and nothing could be seen. Fang Chen felt as if he was in a fairyland. He carefully walked up the stairway to heaven. ABC, free to read, crack. As soon as he started walking, he felt that the gravity on the stairs was extraordinarily great. After walking for 10 meters, his body began to feel a little overwhelmed. He immediately activated his special constitution. One had to know that his constitution had been known as the strongest sword body back in the day. Although he had stopped cultivating his physical constitution after reincarnating into the origin world, there were very few people who could match him. Boom! 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 He released the strongest sword body. Terrifying sword chi ripples shrouded him. Complex sword Tao patterns covered the surface of his skin. His physical defense instantly soared. Dong! 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 The sound of bones cracking could be heard from his body. This was caused by the strong gravity outside pressing against his body. However, Fang Chen's physical strength had reached its peak after he released the strongest sword body. The gravity here could no longer stop him from moving forward. His speed increased significantly. Whoosh! 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 In the blink of an eye, Fang Chen had already reached the 50th meter mark. When he crossed the 50th meter and entered the 51st meter, He felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He was stunned on the spot, and the runes on the surface of his skin directly shattered. Seeing this, Fang Chen cried out in alarm. He immediately activated the ultimate strength in his body, and only then did he barely manage to resist the pressure of the gravity. What's going on? Fang Chen's heart palpitated. From the 51st meter onwards, the pressure on the stairway was completely different from before. It seemed to have increased tenfold. He rolled his eyes and stared at the end of the stairway. At this moment, at the top of the stairway, the illusory figure stood with his hands behind his back and shook his head indifferently. It's only the 51st meter, and you can't hold on anymore? There were a total of 99 meters on the stairway, and he had only walked half of it. If he couldn't hold on, how could he break through? The previous challengers at least walked more than 70 meters before they stopped. The illusory figure shook his head, as if he was very dissatisfied with Fang Chen's performance. I don't know how someone like him came here. The illusory figure recalled the countless challengers he had seen. Which one of them wasn't an amazing person of their time? However, he didn't feel that from Fang Chen. Back then, the illusory figure sighed deeply. I broke through to the 90th meter in one go. I only needed the last 9 meters to succeed. He revealed a secret. If Fang Chen was here, he would definitely be shocked. It turned out that the illusory figure was also one of the challengers. After he failed, he became the gatekeeper. What happened? What did the illusory figure experience? Did the bald monk say that all the challengers had died? But, what was the illusory figure? Of course, at this time, Fang Chen was still focused on studying how to break through the stairway. He didn't know this secret at all. After the illusory figure sighed for a while, his eyes continued to fall on Fang Chen, who was in the stairway. At this moment, Fang Chen stopped at the 51st meter, motionless. His not moving. The illusory figure frowned. There was a time limit to breaking through the stairway. If he wasted time like this, it would be more difficult when he reached the end. He wouldn't have time to react. He wanted to remind Fang Chen, but the rules didn't allow it. Moreover, when he saw the latter's lazy appearance, he was even more annoyed. He didn't know how many geniuses risked their lives to break through, but this person was wasting such a precious opportunity. The illusory figure snorted coldly, and immediately stopped paying attention to Fang Chen. The stairway was surrounded by a grey mist, completely sealing the stairway. The entire unique space was unusually dull and lonely. Outside, the bald monk's heart was as calm as still water. He had witnessed countless challenges here. Fang Chen was just one of them. Whether he could succeed or not depended on his own luck. No one else could help him. His duty was to wait here and guide those challengers as long as he didn't die. End of chapter. Chapter 4014. The gravity on the stairway to heaven was not something that ordinary people could withstand. Even though Fang Chen had activated his strongest sword body, he still felt great pressure. He was slowly moving forward. Crack. The sound of bones cracking could be heard from his body. This was due to the stairway to heaven's gravity being too great, causing the bones in his body to collide with each other. The strongest sword body had been pushed to the extreme. The surface of Fang Chen's skin was covered with layers of sword runes, raising his physical defense to the highest level. Whoosh. When he reached the 51-meter mark, the gravity had obviously increased a lot. He suddenly stopped and did not rush to move forward. The increase in gravity may be a good opportunity to temper my body. A smile appeared in Fang Chen's mind. He immediately began to try to guide the gravity of the stairway to heaven into his body to temper it. His strongest sword body had reached the complete realm a long time ago. However, as his strength increased, his understanding of the sword principle reached a new level. Therefore, he was able to discover that there were still flaws in his sword body. However, he needed an opportunity to perfect the flaws. He believed that the stairway to heaven was an opportunity. Seeing that he was not moving, the illusory figure above the stairway to heaven frowned and was very unhappy. After watching for a long time, Fang Chen did not move at all. This made the illusory figure very angry. This was simply a waste of time. On the stairway to heaven, the only result of wasting time was death. He shook his head gently as if he had already seen Fang Chen's failure. Then, he stopped paying attention. Time passed bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, several days had passed. During this period, under the tempering of the pressure of the stairway to heaven, Fang Chen's physical body and the strongest sword body were integrated. The moment the last sword pattern was integrated into his flesh, he felt that the strength of his physical body had increased to an unimaginable level. Now, he was confident that he could defeat a Saint Realm expert with just his physical strength. Of course, the premise was that he was an ordinary Saint Realm expert. Whoosh! He took a deep breath and looked ahead with his dark eyes. There were still more than 40 meters to go before he reached the end. He began to rush with all his strength. In the blink of an eye, he rushed from the 51-meter mark to the 60-meter mark. During this period, he did not stop at all. The stairway to heaven's pressure was useless in front of him. Dong dong dong. From time to time, the roar of the strongest sword body could be heard from within his body. After being refined by the stairway to heaven, his sword body had even absorbed a trace of ultimate power, causing his sword body to transform into an invincible divine body. At this moment, he was rapidly moving forward. 60 meters, 70 meters, 80 meters, until he reached 90 meters, he didn't have any trouble. It was enough to prove how intimidating Fang Chen's god body was. Wang. When he reached the 90th meter mark, he finally stopped. This was because crossing the 90-meter mark would lead to a brand new world. The gravity would increase to an unprecedented level. If they were to advance recklessly, they would definitely suffer heavy injuries and even die. Fang Chen began to study seriously and carefully try to see what method he could use to pass the stairway to heaven test in the shortest time possible. At this moment, the illusory figure above the stairway to heaven was completely stunned. He blinked his eyes hard and looked down in disbelief. What happened? He hadn't been paying attention for a few days, but this guy had actually reached the 90th meter. Wasn't this too exaggerated? What exactly had happened in the past few days? Previously, he was stuck at the 51-meter mark and couldn't move forward. However, in the blink of an eye, he had reached the 90th meter mark. The illusory figure was shocked because he had also stopped at the 90th meter mark and was defeated in the end. Now, this person who he didn't think highly of had quietly reached the 90th meter mark. Moreover, it seemed that the previous impact didn't have any pressure at all. There weren't even beads of sweat on his forehead. The energy in his body was still vigorous as if it hadn't been consumed at all. This was simply unbelievable. This is unbelievable. His heart was filled with shock, but the illusory figure didn't know how to express it. In the end, he was silent for a long time before he said those words. Could it be that he can really succeed? He began to pay close attention to Fang Chen's every move. When he saw that the latter had continued to break through, his heartbeat quickened and he was extremely excited. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Fang Chen moved forward at a strange pace. Although his speed wasn't fast, it was visible to the naked eye that he was moving towards the end of the stairway. Despite the pressure from the stairway increasing, Fang Chen's strongest sword body was able to withstand the pressure like Mount Tai. At the same time, the ultimate force in his body was circulating crazily. As an 11th order true Saint Realm expert, his combat strength wasn't something an average person could imagine. With his current strength, if he went all out, even a half-step chaos supremacy in the age of chaos might not be his opponent. Although he hadn't touched the threshold of the supremacy realm, he was already a big step ahead of others. If one were to ask who was most likely to step into the chaotic supremacy realm in this era, it would be none other than Fang Chen. Perhaps, even he didn't know that he was undergoing a huge transformation. 96, 97, 98. When Fang Chen reached the 98-meter mark, he paused for a moment. The illusory figure above the stairway felt as if his heart was about to jump out of his chest. He was only 1 step away from passing the second stage. He was extremely excited. After so many years, someone had finally passed the second stage. Continue, don't stop. He was afraid that Fang Chen would be discouraged if he stopped and couldn't move forward. He urged anxiously in his heart. Inside the stairway. After a few seconds, Fang Chen took the last step, reaching the 99th meter, which was the end of the stairway. Buzz! At this moment, the entire stairway shook. The terrifying pressure disappeared in an instant. At the same time, at the end of the stairway, a second ray of light shone down from the towering mountain peak. This meant that Fang Chen had officially passed the second stage. Buzz! The fog around the stairway dissipated, revealing Fang Chen standing at the end of the stairway. The illusory figure appeared again without him noticing. Congratulations, you've passed the second stage. The illusionary figure's attitude toward Fang Chen had completely changed. His face was full of smiles, and he even reminded Fang Chen that the third and final trial was extremely dangerous, so he had to be careful and not underestimate his opponent. Otherwise, his life would be in danger. At the same time, the illusory figure also said that when he passed all the stages, there would be an unexpected surprise. After saying that, the illusory figure dissipated. Did I pass? Fang Chen grinned. Although the two stages were meant to test the martial artists, it was also a kind of training for the latecomers. Those who passed would have a great improvement in their physical body and primordial spirit. End of chapter. Chapter 40:15. At the end of the stairway to heaven. Fang Chen stood with his hands clasped behind his back, and a joyful smile appeared on his face. This second hurdle might seem simple, but it was actually very dangerous. The slightest carelessness could lead to eternal damnation. Fortunately, he was walking on the path of the ancient civilization and had already stepped into the 11th order true saint realm. Otherwise, it would be difficult to pass with only the strongest sword body. At the end of the stairway to heaven, the second ray of light shone down from the towering mountain peak. Fang Chen couldn't wait to step on the mountain peak and see what kind of inheritance the experts of the Chaos world had left behind. However, there was still the last test waiting for him. This was also the most difficult test. If he made a mistake, he would die. Good luck, the gatekeeper said with a smile. Then, he waved his sleeve and the stairway to heaven instantly disappeared. It was replaced by a wasteland. The illusory figure also disappeared, leaving Fang Chen standing alone on the wasteland in a daze. What is the third test? Fang Chen walked forward slowly. The strongest sword body had broken through to a higher level. Sword runes covered his body, and wherever he passed, the void seemed to distort. After about 3,000 kilometers, the third test finally appeared. Huh! Fang Chen was stunned and looked at the stone forest in front of him. Crash! An illusory figure appeared in the sky above the stone forest. He looked at Fang Chen from afar, and a trace of undetectable surprise flashed across his eyes. Challenger, congratulations on making it this far. Senior, what is the third test? Fang Chen asked. Before you accept the test, take a look at this. As soon as the voice fell, the illusory figure waved his sleeve. Suddenly, Fang Chen was shocked as he saw an incredible scene. In the void, a scroll slowly unfolded, and what came into view was the Shungfeng country. Fang Chen was completely stunned. Why did the Shungfeng country appear in the scroll, the place where he was born? Wang. In the next instant, he saw countless black-clothed people appear in the sky above the divine wind country. Their auras were powerful, and their bodies were emitting destructive energy. The moment they appeared, the entire divine wind country was in great danger. Originally, from top to bottom of the divine wind nation, it was bustling with noise and excitement. However, the black-clothed people were wantonly slaughtering the divine wind nation. Get out of the divine wind country. The massacre of the people in black clothes made the people of godly wind country start to resist. The ruler of godly wind country didn't fear death and blocked the path of the people in black clothes. However, what awaited him was death. Boom! With a loud sound, the heavenly lightning struck his body and instantly killed the ruler of the divine wind country. Without a leader, the divine wind nation sunk into endless panic. On the streets, there were old, weak, sick, and disabled people, as well as young children. There were also countless martial artists. They had been looking for an opportunity to escape, however, the black-robed man was too strong. In just a short moment, the divine wind country had turned into an azure hell. Corpses and bones piled up like a mountain, and blood flowed like a river. The Divine Wind Nation had already turned into ruins, and smoke filled the air. No, at this time, Fang Chen's eyes were blurred, and he fell into an illusion. His body kept trembling, and he roared angrily, wanting to kill these black-clothed people with his own hands. However, he found that he couldn't change anything at all. "Stop," he roared angrily, waving his fists with his teeth bared and claws brandished. On the computer, unknowingly, his body had floated to the stone forest. The illusory figure flicked his sleeve, and the formation was instantly activated. Countless boulders spun wildly, and a majestic force ran through the stone forest and surrounded Fang Chen. "You only have 30 minutes. The illusory figure whispered. This test was quite special, and almost no one had succeeded. This was not just a test of illusion, but a test of one's heart. In the face of the tragedy of the Divine Wind Nation, will you take action or not? If you take revenge, what will it change? What will it change? Will it lead to greater consequences?" All of this required thinking. This was thinking about human nature, and also about making a choice. Buzz. Time passed bit by bit. Fang Chen struggled at the beginning, but he gradually calmed down in the end. The illusory figure was still there. At first, he wanted to kill all the black-clothed people to avenge the people of the Divine Wind Nation, but later he found that killing those black-clothed people would bring a devastating blow to the ancient Sword Continent. This kind of blow would even affect his life. Should he kill them or not? If he killed them, the ancient Sword Continent would fall into a desperate situation. If he didn't kill them, would the people of the Divine Wind Nation die in vain? Fang Chen tried hard to find a balance, but he found that it was too difficult. No, thinking of those innocent people who fell in a pool of blood one by one, Fang Chen's heart was bleeding. He would rather take their place. Why do you have to do this? The Divine Wind Nation was the place where his dreams started, and it was also the place where he was born. He had placed too many thoughts and memories there. This was the scene he didn't want to see the most. No. After countless roars, he finally made a shocking decision. "I will use my blood in exchange for your safety." Fang Chen roared and immediately attacked, killing all the black-clothed people. Before the crisis of the ancient Sword Continent arrived, he used his blood to make up for everything. Rip. His blood spilled over the entire ancient Sword Continent, blocking all the dangers in the extraterritorial zone. His body began to dismember, melting into every corner of the ancient Sword Continent. Even if he died, he would protect that last inch of pure land. Since he couldn't have it both ways, then he would use his blood to awaken the heroic spirits of this land. Buzz. The moment Fang Chen's blood spilled and his body dismembered, the people of the Divine Wind Nation who died were resurrected one by one. They were wailing, crying, and shouting. Seeing this scene, Fang Chen shed tears. The boulders in the stone forest were no longer spinning and had quieted down. Fang Chen's body floated in the air above the stone forest. His body was bathed in golden light and he looked like the ruler of the human race. He gave off an incomparably shocking aura. He vaguely heard the shouts of the people of the Divine Wind Nation. A teardrop flowed out of the corner of his eye and dripped into the stone forest. Boom, boom, boom. The moment the teardrop touched the stone plate in the middle of the stone forest, Fang Chen's primordial spirit returned to its original position, and he instantly woke up. "This is a dream," Fang Chen muttered to himself. Buzz. The stone plate absorbed the teardrop and spun crazily, releasing a bright golden light that illuminated the entire sky, resonating with the two rays of light on the distant mountain peak at the end of the horizon. At this moment, Fang Chen's body involuntarily floated up. "Congratulations, you've passed the third stage." The illusory figure cupped his fists and congratulated, his eyes full of joy. Someone had finally passed this stage. End of chapter. Div Primordial Sword Lord. Chapter 4016. At the end of the distant horizon, on top of a mountain peak that reached the clouds, there were two dazzling rays of light that shone on the plains. They resonated with the ray of golden light that shot out from the stone plate in the stone forest, forming an arch bridge. The three rays of light represented the three checkpoints. Now, after countless years, someone had finally passed the third stage. The illusory figure's eyes were brimming with tears. After guarding the third stage for so many years, he was finally free. Ha ha ha, I've finally regained my freedom. He was so excited that he forgot himself. He only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible, but before that, he had one last thing to do, and that was to guide the challenger to the top of the mountain. Challenger, you've passed the third stage. Now, as long as you step onto the arch bridge, you can go to the top of the mountain and receive the inheritance. The illusory figure suppressed the joy in his heart and said. Fang Chen nodded. He couldn't wait any longer. Crash. The moment he stepped onto the arch bridge, his body arrived at the top of the mountain. Buzz. Standing at the peak of the mountain, it felt like a lifetime had passed. Standing here, he was able to see every corner of this unique space with a single glance. To his shock, he discovered that there were actually quite a few illusory figures formed from his soul wandering about in other directions of this space. What's going on? Fang Chen was stunned. He had thought that only challengers could enter this place, but now, he discovered that there were others besides him. Buzz. At this time, a thought suddenly descended from the sky and condensed into a giant face. The giant face looked at Fang Chen with a smile and said, after so many years, the Chaos World finally produced a monstrous genius. The test here was specially designed for people from the Chaos World. Now that someone had passed, it was naturally someone from the Chaos World. Junior Fang Chen greets Senior. Fang Chen hurriedly apologized and thanked the giant face. Just the giant face alone gave Fang Chen a lot of pressure. Even though he was already an 11th Order True Saint Realm expert, he still felt incomparably shocked when facing the giant face. Chaos Supreme Realm? Fang Chen's heart was in turmoil, but he was even more curious. What did the Chaos World Senior leave behind? How is the Primal Chaos Realm now? The giant face asked. Senior, the chaotic realm is severely damaged. There are fewer and fewer experts, and the cultivation environment is getting worse. The heavenly fate Qi has been sucked away by the devouring demon clan, and it is on the verge of death. It needs a chaotic supreme to save it. Fang Chen told the truth about the chaotic realm's situation. After hearing this, the giant face sighed and only came back to his senses after a long time. It's just as we expected. From his words, it seemed that they had expected this to happen a long time ago. You've cultivated the complete cultivation system of the ancient civilization. It looks like your talent in the martial way is very outstanding. If my guess is correct, you've reincarnated into the origin world, right? Fang Chen nodded. Just as the great sovereign had said, there were many experts who had accepted this mission before him, but they had all failed. Even if he failed, there would still be a successor. Not bad. You've cultivated to the 11th level Saint Realm with your own efforts. It's not bad, but it's far from enough. The giant face said. To deal with the devouring demon clan, there must be a chaotic supreme to lead the way. The devouring demon clan's clan leader has been in seclusion to break through to a higher level. Once he succeeds, the chaotic realm will be completely destroyed. Speaking of this, the giant face sighed. Fang Chen couldn't help but ask which senior of the chaotic realm the giant face was, and which era it was from. The giant face shook his head. It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is that the flame of the chaotic realm must be passed on. It must not be extinguished. At the same time, he told Fang Chen that those who passed the test were the chosen ones and had a great chance of stepping into the chaotic supreme realm in the future. Therefore, countless experts of the chaotic realm had left behind a treasure trove. Crash. 2 rays of light shot out from the giant face's eyes, and suddenly, a palace appeared on the mountain peak. This palace contains the lifetime gains of the ancestors of the chaotic realm. I hope it will be of some help to you. The giant face said. With a creak, the palace door opened, and Fang Chen stepped out and entered. After entering the palace, Fang Chen was completely stunned. The entire palace was huge, and there were mountains of cultivation resources, weapons, elixirs, herbs, talismans, armors, and so on. Everywhere he looked, he could see that every single weapon was an existence that surpassed Saint-tier weapons. These weapons contained the power of the 5 great origins. It was too shocking. Fang Chen felt like his brain was about to explode. How long had this treasure vault existed? How many people had accumulated their strength to preserve so many cultivation resources? It was no exaggeration to say that from the beginning of the cultivation world until now, the cultivation resources that Fang Chen had seen were not as many as the treasures in the treasure trove. This is nothing. The giant face said, during the golden age of the chaotic realm, there were more than a dozen supremes. Every supremes would put some cultivation resources that they did not need into the treasure trove. Only those that they did not need would be thrown into the treasure trove. And this treasure trove became the last remaining resources of the chaotic realm? What did this mean? It meant that during the golden age of the chaotic realm, the cultivation resources far exceeded this treasure trove. Heavens! There were more than a dozen supremes. What era was that? Suppressing the shock in his heart, Fang Chen's gaze once again fell on all the cultivation resources in the treasure trove. Those shiny weapons, black elixirs, green herbs, and flame-like talismans. Every one of them tempted him. If this treasure trove is placed in the origin world, aren't you afraid that the patriarch of the devouring demon clan will take it all away? Fang Chen could not help but ask. No, the treasure trove is placed in the mirage. With me guarding it, no one can take it away, the giant face said confidently. If it was in the outside world, no one would be a match for the patriarch of the devouring demon clan, but in the mirage, he feared no one. Why? Fang Chen asked. The mirage is a special space. If you want to enter the mirage, you have to transform your primordial spirit into it. This applies even to the patriarch of the devouring demon clan, the giant face said. The primordial spirits of supremes are only at the Tao manifestation realm. It's just that the Tao they condense is different. In terms of the primordial spirit domain, the giant face has already reached the peak. The mirage. Fang Chen's heart was in turmoil. Did this mean that the illusory figures he saw on the mountain peak were all primordial spirits of people from the outside world? How did they know about the existence of the mirage? As if it knew the doubts in Fang Chen's heart, the gigantic face said, "You know nothing about the higher level of power. In the following time, I will personally explain everything about the utmost exalted realm to you. After you learn about it, you will understand the meaning of the emptiness realm." End of chapter. Chapter 40:17. You don't know anything about the higher level of power. This sentence set off a storm in Fang Chen's heart. Was the higher level of power that the giant face was talking about the supremacy realm? Since ancient times, there were very few who could step into the supremacy realm. Once one stepped into the supremacy realm, they were almost immortal, but there were still so many supremacy realm experts who had fallen. In the current Dharma ending age, there was only one supremacy realm expert that people knew of, and that was the devouring demon clan leader. The rest of the supremacy realm experts had all fallen. Although Fang Chen suspected that the supremacy realm experts behind the chaotic realm were most likely still alive, he had never seen them in person, so he couldn't be sure. In the Dharma ending age, the heavenly Tao was incomplete, and cultivation was getting more and more difficult. It was almost impossible to step into the supremacy realm. Senior. Fang Chen cupped his fists and listened carefully. In fact, the mountains of things in the treasury were enough to shock Fang Chen. If these things were placed in the chaotic realm, they would be enough to cultivate countless experts at the peak of the saint realm, and could increase the overall combat strength of the chaotic realm by at least 3 levels. What did this mean? It meant that the overall strength of the chaotic realm would be much stronger than before, and they would definitely be able to fight head-on against the source realm. However, the ancestors of the chaotic realm left the treasury here, waiting for the person who tested them. What was going on? Fang Chen's heart was full of doubts, and he needed someone to solve his doubts. Actually, some supremacy realm experts didn't die. The giant face revealed a secret. As soon as these words came out, Fang Chen was stunned on the spot. What? Fang Chen exclaimed, and his eyes widened as he stared at the giant face. Some supremacy realm experts didn't die, then where did they go? Were they hiding in the dark? You have to know that stepping into the supremacy realm is equivalent to being immortal. Although this sentence is a little exaggerated, as long as the chaotic realm is not destroyed, they can borrow its power to live forever. Under such circumstances, it is impossible for them to die. The giant face said leisurely, as if recalling some past events. Then where did they go? Fang Chen asked. This was the question in his heart. Normally speaking, as Jizuan realm cultivators who had reached the pinnacle of this world, it was possible for them to win in a single move, but it was impossible for them to kill the other party. However, the ancient records clearly stated that there were Supreme Being level experts who had fallen, and they had died in a large-scale war. This made Fang Chen very puzzled. Who killed those dead Supremes? Where did the Supremes that hadn't died go? If they were still in the Chaos Realm, why didn't they make a move when they saw that the Chaos Realm was about to be destroyed? Why would they send him to reincarnate into the origin world to find a way to break through to the Supremacy Realm and save the Chaos Realm? None of this seemed to be logical. They have left the primal Chaos Realm, the giant face said sadly. Where did he go? Fang Chen asked hurriedly. Everyone knew that the primal Chaos world was born when the heavens and earth were created. Apart from that, there was no other space for life. As for the origin world, it had been forcefully created by the demon-devouring clan's patriarch through heaven-defying means. Let's not talk about this for now. The giant face said. Fang Chen had passed the test and came to the treasury, so he had the right to know some secrets. Moreover, he had embarked on the complete cultivation system of the ancient civilization and had reached the 11th level Saint Realm. He was only one step away from the primal Chaos Supremacy Realm. With his current strength, he was almost invincible among Supremes. He had the right to know these things. Do you know who else is alive in the primal Chaos Realm? The giant face suddenly asked. Fang Chen shook his head. How would he know? Forget it, I'd better tell you the details of the Supreme Being Realm first. The giant face shook his head. The living Supreme Being Realm was very important, so he didn't plan to tell Fang Chen for the time being. Fang Chen didn't say anything, but listened carefully. The so-called Supreme Being Realm was, in fact, the complete integration of the 5 origin forces and condensing one's own origin Tao. What was the origin Tao? This was something that every expert who had stepped into the Supreme Being Realm had to do. Every Supreme Being had their own origin source Great Tao, and any origin source Great Tao could destroy the heavens and earth. In addition, Supreme Being Realm experts had supreme abilities. Their bodies could merge with heaven and earth, and they could borrow the power of the heavenly Tao to fight. With a thought, billions of universes would be controlled. This was the so-called Supreme Being Will. In terms of the primordial spirit of a Supreme Being Realm expert was also in the Tao manifestation realm. Fang Chen's primordial spirit had also reached the Tao manifestation realm, but there was still a gap between it and the Supreme Being Realm, but it wasn't big. In short, in order to step into the primal Chaos Supremacy Realm, one must absorb the power of the heavenly Tao. Absorb the power of the heavenly Tao? Fang Chen frowned. He didn't know what this meant. The complete cultivation system of the ancient civilization could easily step into the Supreme Being Realm when cultivated to the extreme. However, a long time ago, the primal Chaos Realm experienced countless wars, and in the end, the cultivation system was broken, resulting in the current situation. The giant face said, You have already stepped into the 11th level Saint Realm. When you enter the 13th level Saint Realm, your body will naturally absorb the power of the heavenly Tao. The amount of power absorbed would affect one's combat strength after stepping into the Supreme Being Realm. Moreover, in order to condense the origin Tao, the 5 elemental origins were also the most important. You must take care of everything in your cultivation. The giant face said, the primordial spirit, the physical body, and the comprehension of the 5 elemental origins must go hand in hand. As the saying goes, the great Tao is simple, and different paths lead to the same destination. When these aspects are cultivated to the extreme, everything will become one, and you will become the Supreme Being Realm. After stepping into the Supreme Being Realm, the level of life would also undergo a transformation. They could no longer be called humans, demons, or demons. At this time, they would have a unified name, and that was living beings. This was because their level of life had almost transformed to the extreme, and everything was unified. Primal Chaos Supremacy Realm? Fang Chen muttered to himself. After listening to the giant face's words, he was deeply moved. He gradually closed his eyes and fell into an epiphany. Seeing this, the giant face smiled in satisfaction. A beam of golden light shot out from its right eye and entered Fang Chen's forehead. In the next moment, golden light patterns spread all over his body. He looked solemn and dignified, as if he was an enlightened monk. In the cave outside the ethereal realm, the bald monk suddenly opened his eyes, and his body began to tremble with excitement. Although he spat out a mouthful of blood, he didn't care at all. Success, ha 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 ha, I finally succeeded. The bald monk was really excited. After waiting for countless years, this was the first person to successfully pass the test and reach the end. He knew that this was very likely to change the fate of the primal chaos realm. The heavens didn't abandon the primal chaos realm. Primordial Sword Lord. Chapter 40:18. It was obviously impossible to break through to the supremacy realm in one go. Fang Chen was well aware of this, which was why he focused on comprehending the power of the Soul Tao during his epiphany. After all, among the three aspects of the primordial spirit, physical body, and cultivation realm, the primordial spirit was the closest to the supremacy realm. It was inconceivable that he could condense his primordial spirit into the Tao while in the saint realm, especially in the age of Dharma's end. The primordial spirit of the Tao manifestation realm was also divided into strong and weak. For example, the primordial spirit of the supremacy realm could create all things with a single thought, which was extremely terrifying. Obviously, Fang Chen did not possess this ability. In Fang Chen's mind, scenes of his past battles kept appearing. From the time he was in the ancient Sword Continent, in the Wind Nation's Qingfeng Sword Sect, to the extraterritorial region, to the deity world, and then to the primal chaos void. The entire process seemed long, but it was actually very fast. Looking at his life, he had cultivated for a short period of time, but his potential was heaven-defying. Now, he had cultivated to the 11th level saint realm, and the amount of ultimate force in his body had reached 3 digits. Now, he had passed the test and obtained the treasury, which was equivalent to obtaining the ticket to the supremacy realm. After listening to the giant face briefly explain the situation of the supremacy realm, Fang Chen had an epiphany. His primordial spirit underwent earth-shaking changes. When the mark on his forehead completely merged with his primordial spirit, he suddenly opened his eyes. Vast ultimate force circulated around his body, and his temperament underwent a qualitative leap. Fang Chen took a deep breath, and an excited smile appeared on his face. Your potential is the strongest I have ever seen. The giant face muttered, his voice full of shock. He did not expect that such a monstrous genius would appear in the age of Dharma's end. It was simply shocking. How did you come to the origin world? Fang Chen told the giant face in full detail about how he met the Supreme Sovereign and how he reincarnated into the origin world. The giant face fell into silence after listening. After a long time, the giant face looked at Fang Chen with burning eyes and said in a heavy voice, I didn't expect you to be the one carrying out the mission in this era. No wonder you could pass the test. Carrying out a revival mission was a supreme mission in the primal chaos realm. Only geniuses with heaven-defying potential who had a chance to step into the primal chaos realm could take it. Moreover, they had to be tested for a long time and pass all aspects of the assessment before they could take it. ABC, at free reading, otherwise, if they betrayed the chaos world and joined the devouring demon clan, wouldn't the chaos world be doomed eternally? Fang Chen had reincarnated into the origin world, a world filled with demon devourers. Who would have thought that Fang Chen would be able to make it this far, step by step? It was truly not easy. Have you been to the Cliff of Death? The giant face asked. To be able to obtain the complete cultivation system of the ancient civilization, one must have come into contact with the peak experts of the ancient civilization. If there were any of them left, they would definitely be dead. The horizon of happiness. Perhaps they had already died and ceased to exist. However, their remnant wills were still rooted in the Death Cliff. Senior. Speaking of the Death Cliff, Fang Chen thought of the primitive tribes. He wanted to know if there was any connection between the chaos world and the primitive tribes. Primitive tribes. The giant face said, everyone thinks that the primitive tribes are a special race born of nature. They have always been based in the life-forbidden zone, and their people never leave the life-forbidden zone. Outsiders have no way of knowing the situation of their tribe. The primitive tribes were the most mysterious of all. Back then, the devouring demon clan's leader had a fierce battle with the primitive tribes. Although he did not lose, he knew how terrifying the primitive tribes were. From then on, the devouring demon clan no longer made enemies with the primitive tribes. However, in secret, the devouring demon clan had been looking for ways to restrain the primitive tribes. It was also at this time that the experts of the Chaos world found the primitive tribes and expressed their willingness to join forces. At this point, the giant face fell silent. And then, did the primitive tribes agree? Based on his contact with the primitive tribes, he felt that the primitive tribes seemed to treat the people of the Chaos world differently. He believed that they had formed an alliance. The giant face shook its head. The primitive tribes believe that they have the noblest bloodline. They claim to be the representatives of the heavenly Tao. They disdain to join forces with the Chaos world because they believe that they can destroy the devouring demon clan's leader and occupy the origin world by themselves. Then why? Fang Chen was puzzled but was interrupted by the giant face. The ambitions of the primitive races are far greater than we imagined. They want to take over a world for themselves, and the origin world was personally established by the patriarch of the demon-devouring clan. It has absorbed 2/3 of the fate of the chaotic world. The power of the heavenly ways here is far too great. Fang Chen was stunned. The primitive tribes wanted to occupy a world by themselves. They even looked down on the Chaos world because 2/3 of the Chaos world's providence had been sucked away. The heavenly Tao was incomplete and could not survive. The origin world was different. If they continued to survive, the younger generation of the tribe would become stronger and stronger. With the powerful bloodline of the primitive tribes, they would definitely be able to produce countless supremes. Of course, this could happen in hundreds of millions of years, or even tens of billions of years. But for such a tribe, time was nothing. It was just a snap of the fingers. How ambitious! Fang Chen was speechless. If they really succeeded, would they be like the devouring demon clan's leader and suck away the last third of the Chaos world's providence? After listening to the giant face's words, Fang Chen felt that this was very likely to happen. But why? The primitive tribes were so strong and ambitious. Why were they still in the life-forbidden zone after so many years? On the other hand, the devouring demon clan had multiplied to the peak. As long as the devouring demon clan's leader came out of seclusion, he would definitely dominate the world. Because the primitive tribes are waiting, said the giant face. Waiting? Fang Chen frowned. What were they waiting for? The devouring demon clan's leader was very strong. He was strong enough to destroy the origin world. Once the primitive tribes forced the devouring demon clan into a desperate situation, he would most likely destroy the origin world. So they were waiting. They were waiting for the Chaos world and the origin world to fight and both sides to suffer losses. Then, they would sit back and reap the benefits. Was that so? Fang Chen was stunned. Was this the reason why the primitive tribes were so concerned about the people from the Chaos world? However, how could they be sure that the primal Chaos realm would definitely be able to give birth to an exalted stage powerhouse? Once they failed, the devouring demon clan would destroy the Chaos world and strengthen the origin world. By then, the origin world would be impregnable. The primitive tribes would not be able to do anything to the devouring demon clan. Fang Chen's mind was full of thoughts. End of chapter. Chapter 4019. The primitive tribes were very mysterious, at least to the people of the world. However, the giant face seemed to know everything. He just did not tell Fang Chen. Although the primitive tribes are also the enemies of the devouring demon clan, you have to be careful at all times. After all, their goal is to occupy the source world. If their dream comes true, no one knows if they will have designs on the chaotic realm, the giant face said leisurely. This was the biggest crisis the chaotic realm had ever encountered. Even the war of the gods hundreds of millions of years ago did not reach this stage. The devouring demon clan leader would soon come out of seclusion, and no one would be able to stop him. Unless someone stepped into the chaotic supremacy realm. Moreover, an ordinary chaotic supremacy would not do. They had to be strong enough. Obviously, Fang Chen was a very good choice. He had cultivated the complete cultivation system of the ancient civilization and had already reached the 11th level of the Saint Realm. As long as he stepped into the 13th level of the Saint Realm, with his attainments in martial arts, there was a high chance that he would step into the Supremacy Realm. As long as he could step into the Supremacy Realm, it was no exaggeration to say that he would definitely be able to defeat the devouring demon clan leader. After all, entering the Supremacy Realm at the 13th level of the Saint Realm and entering the Supremacy Realm from the ordinary Saint Realm were two completely different concepts. For the time being, you should cultivate in the treasury and improve your strength as soon as possible. At this point, Fang Chen had already learned a lot about the Paragon Realm. The giant face had told him to cultivate here for the time being, and that he could use the cultivation resources in the treasury. If there was anything he didn't understand, he could ask the giant face for help. Fang Chen was naturally willing. He sat cross-legged on the ground and began to comprehend the way. Outside the Void Realm, the Great Snow Mountain was as calm as ever. All the emissaries were still searching for the holder of the killing order, but they found nothing. In the end, even the Great Elder was alarmed. He personally summoned the first emissary to ask about the situation. "What is the situation?" the Great Elder asked in a low voice. The Great Snow Mountain's leader was not here, so he was nominally the person in charge of the sect. He had the right to decide everything in the sect. Of course, he did not know that the first emissary standing in front of him was the legendary leader of the Great Snow Mountain. "The killing order's aura has disappeared," the first emissary stood with his hands behind his back and said lightly. No one knew better than him where Fang Chen had gone. He had personally pushed Fang Chen into the abyss. If Fang Chen was still alive, he would have passed the test. The number one emissary cast his gaze into the distance as he prayed in his heart. He had waited for a long time. If he were to wait any longer, there would be no more hope for the Chaos World. This is the first time something like this has happened since the establishment of the Great Snow Mountain. How could the killing order's aura disappear? The Great Elder said angrily. There are two possibilities. The first is that this person is proficient in the art of forging and forcibly refined the aura in the kill order, making it impossible for us to track him. The second possibility is that he has entered a special space that we are unable to sense, the first emissary said. The first elder pondered for a moment. In the end, he gave the order to find him at all costs. Otherwise, the reputation of the Great Snow Mountain would be damaged. The first emissary agreed on the surface, but in reality, he was completely unmoved. The vast origin world was filled with smoke. The experts of the devouring demon clan's sacred land were constantly infiltrating the various manors to ensure that the devouring demon clan could control the various manors unscathed. They gathered all their forces in preparation for a great purge. The origin world was the territory of the devil-devouring clan. Many other clans had snuck in over the years, and some of them had even formed their own forces. ABC. Even better, even faster. Rumble. A deafening sound resounded through the sky. A manor not far from the ghost manor was razed to the ground by the experts of the sacred land. All those who disobeyed were killed. The entire manor's territory flowed with blood, and corpses piled up like mountains. This scene was extremely shocking. In the following time, the sacred land's army continued to conquer other manors that did not obey. Finally, they arrived at the ghost manor's territory. The leader of the sacred land's army was an expert known as the Archbishop. "Commander, we have already arrived at the border of the ghost manor's territory. Should we continue forward?" a subordinate asked. "Commander, the ghost manor is a little special. I once heard that the ghost manor lord is an expert of the underworld. He can even enter and leave the underworld at will," another person said. Not long ago, the ghost manor's territory was filled with black fog, as if the end of the world had arrived. Many people had come to inquire about the news, but they had all died without knowing what was going on. Everyone suspected that the underworld army was about to attack the origin world. This news had spread like wildfire at that time. "PH, do you think the devouring demon clan is afraid of the underworld?" The Archbishop snorted and said disdainfully, If the underworld dares to appear, we will just kill them. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, a black cloud rapidly flew over from the distant horizon. There was a figure on the cloud. The devouring demon clan is making a big fuss. The Ghost Manor Lord was dressed in a black robe, and his entire body was shrouded in black fog. He gave off a sinister and terrifying feeling. His voice was filled with killing intent. "You are the Ghost Manor Lord?" the Archbishop asked. "Do you know your crime?" As the Ghost Manor Lord, he should have obeyed the Sacred Land's orders. However, he had betrayed the devouring demon clan and became a lackey of the underworld. This made the Archbishop very angry. "Keek. How impressive. I want to see what your devouring demon clan can do to me." The Ghost Manor Lord had nothing to fear. He had the support of the underworld's experts, and not long ago, he had successfully opened a passage between the origin world and the underworld. As long as he gave the order, the underworld's army would wage war. "Do you want to die?" the Archbishop said coldly. Boom. The Ghost Manor Lord smiled disdainfully. "Since you are here, I will give you a chance. Submit to me, or I will kill you without mercy." The Sacred Land Army was completely enraged. Under the Archbishop's order, the Sacred Land Army launched a fierce attack. "Destroy the Ghost Manor for me." Hee. The Ghost Manor Lord smiled sinisterly and crushed the token in his hand. A terrifying aura of the underworld instantly burst out. In the next moment, angry roars came from underground. A hole appeared in the ground, and a pitch-black cave appeared. It was bottomless, and waves of roars came out. Buzz. An extremely cold aura instantly filled the entire Ghost Manor territory, completely isolating it from the outside world. The Archbishop realized that something was wrong and immediately acted to suppress the Ghost Manor Lord. However, at this moment, an endless stream of terrifying creatures came out from the pitch-black cave. Each of them had the symbol of the underworld on their body. The Underworld Army? The Archbishop was shocked. The creatures of the underworld opened their bloody mouths and kept biting and devouring the experts of the demon clan. Crack. One by one, the devouring demon clan members died in the mouths of the creatures of the underworld. "My underworld will eventually destroy your devouring demon clan," the Ghost Manor Lord said. End of chapter. Chapter 40-20. The passageway to the underworld was completely opened up. The underworld army swarmed into the territory of the Ghost Manor and sealed the Ghost Manor. No one was able to enter or leave. This caused the Holy Land's army to be surrounded by enemies from both sides. The head officiator, who was fighting with the Ghost Manor Lord, saw his clansmen fall into pools of blood one after another. His eyes turned red and he attacked crazily, but it was to no avail. This was a one-sided battle. The Holy Land army could not fight back at all. The Underworld army was too strong. They were well prepared, but the Holy Land army had too few people. They were constantly devoured by the underworld creatures. In just 2 hours, more than half of the Holy Land army was dead. The remaining people were covered in wounds. Retreat. The head officiator forced the Ghost Manor Lord back with a punch. His figure flashed and he appeared in front of the Holy Land army. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Under the head officiator's lead, the devouring demons of the Holy Land army fled frantically. Soon, they fled to the edge of the Ghost Manor's territory. However, they were shocked to find that this space was sealed and isolated from the world. They could not even call for help. "Head officiator, what should we do?" someone asked. "We can't contact the outside world, and we can't fight the underworld army head-on. If we continue to fight, we will definitely die. The Ghost Manor's territory is too special. There is an endless amount of underworld aura here. The combat power of the underworld creatures will be greatly increased, and our strength will be weakened. If we continue to fight, we will be courting death." The Holy Land army roared angrily. They were besieging the devouring demons in their territory. "You underworld creatures are too bold." The great ritual master walked to the front and stared at the menacing underworld creatures. He roared, "We, the devouring demons, are the true masters of this world. If you start a war like this, we will not let you off." The great ritual master's eyes widened. The source world was created by the devouring demons clan leader. It was the base camp of the devouring demons. Now that the clan leader was in seclusion, even these ugly creatures from the underworld dared to come out. *ABC*. Better update faster. Keek. The world is about to change. The source world is destined to have a great war. The era of the devouring demons is over, the leader of the underworld creatures said coldly. Back then, when they had first arrived in the origin world, they had been suppressed by the patriarch of the devouring demon clan. He had even refined their headquarters, the underworld, into the ground of the origin world. He wanted them to provide an endless source of power for the origin world's boundary wall. At that time, the underworld was almost annihilated. After countless eras of respite, the underworld had recovered. Now, it was time for it to come out. Killing your Holy Land Legion is only the beginning of our revenge. The underworld leader said coldly. He knew very well that the devouring demon clan patriarch could not come out of seclusion at all. It was already a critical moment. If he came out of seclusion rashly, his vitality would be greatly damaged. As for the remaining cultivators of the devouring demon clan, none of them were at the sovereign realm. He was not afraid of the so-called peak of the saint realm. The underworld, which had been dormant for so long, now had the power to contend with the devouring demons. The archbishop was completely enraged. However, the underworld creatures didn't give him any chances. The underworld leader gave the order, and all the underworld creatures crazily attacked. One by one, the Holy Land soldiers fell into pools of blood. The head ritual master did not want to die. He burned his blood essence and gathered all the organs of the dead devouring demons together before exploding them. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying power swept through the world, directly triggering the radiation of the heavenly path's power. A brilliant light descended from the sky and instantly shattered the seal. In the next moment, the archbishop seized the opportunity and fled in a panic. Poochie. All the Holy Land soldiers were killed. The underworld creatures stood in a black mass on the plains of the Ghost Manor's territory. The Ghost Manor Lord, who led the Ghost Manor, looked in the direction of the archbishop's escape and wanted to chase after him. There's no need to chase, the underworld leader said. He burned his blood essence and his organs exploded. He is already seriously injured. Moreover, he has been hit by the yin-yang curse of the underworld. He will definitely die. On this day, dark clouds covered the sun. With the Ghost Manor's territory as the center, the army of the underworld creatures spread out in all directions. In just one day, they had taken over the 3 major manors bordering the Ghost Manor and killed all of the devouring demons. Even the Flying Phoenix Manor Lord, who had chased after Fang Chen, died at the hands of the underworld creatures. The name of the underworld once again spread throughout the origin world. The devouring demons' Holy Land. Suddenly, a ferocious-looking figure appeared in front of the Holy Land's gate. He was covered in blood and his face was pale. He shouted loudly, "I want to see the Holy Lord." Just as the guards were about to attack, they were shocked to find that it was the Archbishop, the leader of the Holy Land's army. "Archbishop, what happened to you?" The guards supported the Archbishop and informed the upper echelons of the Holy Land. Soon, all the upper echelons of the Holy Land had arrived. Even the elusive Holy Lord had come. The Holy Lord checked the Archbishop's injuries and shook his head. His eyes were filled with anger. "Holy Lord, there is a passage to the underworld under the Ghost Manor's territory." The Ghost Manor Lord opened the passage, causing all the underworld creatures to come out. They annihilated the entire Holy Land's army. "I had to burn my blood essence to escape," the Archbishop said weakly. "What?" The upper echelons of the Holy Land were furious. "The underworld still exists." The patriarch spared their lives out of pity. "I didn't expect them to attack the devouring demons," the Holy Lord said coldly. Some of the younger upper echelons did not know about the existence of the underworld. Only old monsters like the Holy Lord knew about it. "On my way back, I heard that the underworld creatures have already occupied the 3 prefectures. They are too arrogant." The Archbishop spat out blood as he spoke. The upper echelons of the Holy Land were enraged. The source world was the territory of the devouring demons. The underworld dared to cause trouble. They were courting death. Holy Lord, I request to go to war. For the devouring demons, for the Holy Land, we are willing to go to war. The dignity of the devouring demons cannot be trampled. The underworld is waging war against us. After so many years, has the world forgotten the patriarch's supreme power? If so, let's kill the chicken to warn the monkey and destroy the underworld. The devouring demons had developed generation after generation. After countless years of nurturing, the Holy Land had gathered the most outstanding members in the history of the devouring demons. They could be said to be the foundation of the devouring demons. They considered themselves as the main bloodline of the devouring demons and would not allow anyone to trample on the dignity of the devouring demons. The underworld was just a clown. The Holy Land immediately made the decision to send many strong cultivators to besiege the underworld. After they had completely destroyed it, they would announce it to the world. Moreover, the Holy Land had decided that from today onwards, they would kill any alien race that they found. Those who were not of the same race had different intentions. End of chapter. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 40:21. There was a saying in the origin world. When the sacred land was angry, millions of corpses would fall. From this saying, one could see the fear and respect everyone had for the sacred land. As the highest sacred land of the devouring demons, the dream of every clansman was to join the sacred land and become a true master of the main bloodline. Of course, to the other clans, the sacred land was the devil. Now, the underworld army dared to slaughter the sacred land army. They were simply courting death. The sacred land issued an order to mobilize all devouring demons in the origin world to encircle the underworld army. Anyone who dared to challenge the sacred land would be killed without mercy. On the same day, someone witnessed a large group of experts leaving the sacred land and heading to the Ghost Manor territory. The Ghost Manor territory was currently shrouded in black mist and isolated from the outside world. The underworld army had officially opened the passage between the underworld and the origin world, and they had all arrived at the Ghost Manor territory. The sacred land seems to be angry, said the Ghost Manor Lord. So what? Soon, the master of my clan will come out of seclusion. When the time comes, the entire origin world will become our territory. The leader of the underworld sneered. However, before that, they had to slaughter a large number of devouring demons to collect their blood and give it to the master of the underworld to aid his cultivation. The entire origin world was in chaos. The other clans that were usually oppressed by the devouring demons also rose up in resistance. The whole situation was a mess, but the devouring demons had no time to care. The most important thing was to destroy the underworld army and quell the unrest in the Ghost Manor territory. Great Snow Mountain, Abyss. A trace of blood seeped from the corner of the bald monk's mouth. His face was pale as if he was a lamp that had run out of oil. However, he persevered, waiting for Fang Chen to come out and see him one more time. Gui Zong. Suddenly, a voice rang out in the cave. The bald monk looked up and suddenly saw a huge face reflected in the void. He grinned and said, "My mission is complete." His mission was to wait here for someone from the Chaos Realm to come and challenge the trial. Once he succeeded, his mission would be complete. Now, after waiting for countless years, someone finally succeeded in passing the trial of the Void Realm. He could not hold on any longer. His old injuries flared up and almost crushed his primordial spirit. He was hanging on with one last breath because he wanted to see Fang Chen one more time. The death of the incarnation will cause great harm to the main body. The huge face sighed. The bald monk was the Gui Zong monk he mentioned. He was just the incarnation of a powerful warrior from the ancient times. The destruction of the incarnation would have a great impact on the main body. My true body has already found a place to stay in the world gap. There won't be any danger for the time being. I can leave without worry, said Monk Gui Zong bitterly. Although he was just an incarnation, after cultivating to such a level, the world had bestowed him with wisdom. In fact, he was almost a completely different person from his original body. Only his primordial spirit was connected. His true body had entered the world gap a long, long time ago and had never returned. Did you find it? The giant face asked. Monk Gui Zong shook his head. It's not that easy. I've already severed my senses with my original body. Only my soul can sense that he's still alive, and I can intermittently receive some information from him. Sigh, the giant face sighed. That's right. How can it be that easy? Don't be sad. Our chaos realm is destined to not be destroyed. Previously, there was supremacy Fu Jian. He single-handedly withstood the chaos realm and survived the most difficult moment. Now, such a monstrous genius has appeared. I believe it won't be long before he enters the chaos supremacy realm, said Monk Gui Zong. The giant face nodded. He was very confident in Fang Chen. Furthermore, the fate of all living beings in the chaos realm rested on his shoulders. Is there any news from the fiend-devouring clan? Asked the giant face. Monk Gui Zong said, although the fiend-devouring clan's holy land has always kept it a secret, our intelligence has detected something. The fiend-devouring clan's patriarch isn't in seclusion at all. Instead, he has entered the world gap. What? The giant face was surprised. He never expected the fiend-devouring clan's patriarch to enter the world gap. However, he's different from my true body. He found a rare treasure that allows him to enter and exit the world gap freely. He can return at any time, said Monk Gui Zong. Not long ago, the Holy Land wantonly collected cultivation resources. To the outside world, they announced that the fiend-devouring clan's patriarch encountered a problem in his cultivation and needed a large number of cultivation materials. However, in reality, after they collected the materials, they sent them all into the world gap. The two of them fell silent. The fiend-devouring clan's patriarch had been growing and advancing in the world gap. The rare treasure that allowed him to enter and exit the world gap freely had restrictions on its use. Therefore, the fiend-devouring clan's patriarch wouldn't come out before he completely broke through to a higher level. To an expert like him, only the improvement of his strength could make him more focused. As for the lives of all living beings, they were like ants. They weren't worth mentioning at all. In that case, the chaos realm is becoming more and more dangerous, asked the giant face after a long silence. At most 1,000 years, said Monk Gui Zong. After I die, I'll give you my essence energy. Take it and try to contact my true body. As long as there was a 1 in 10,000 chance, he definitely couldn't miss it. If he could contact him, perhaps the Chaos Realm's crisis could be alleviated. However, this method was almost like a fantasy story. The two of them had no idea. All right, I'll guide him as soon as possible. I'll let him condense the ultimate force and reach the 13th level of the Sage Realm. The giant face nodded and said solemnly, Buzz. Monk Gui Zong offered the last bit of his strength before completely disappearing from this world. A wisp of essence energy entered the mouth of the giant face. The latter sent Monk Gui Zong off with tears in his eyes before returning to the Void Realm. At the peak of the Great Snow Mountain, in front of the forbidden area at the back of the mountain, the first emissary stood with his hands behind his back with a sorrowful expression. With a crack, he crushed the stone in his hand. His heart was filled with endless sorrow. Master. The first emissary wept as tears welled up in the corners of his eyes. Back then, it was his master, Monk Gui Zong, who supported him from behind the scenes. He had single-handedly established the Great Snow Mountain. All these years, he had been silently searching for people from the Chaos Realm. He never expected his master to leave him in the end. Did he succeed? The first emissary wiped his tears and muttered to himself. His master had once said that he had to see someone pass the Void Realm's test with his own eyes before he could leave in peace. Now, his master had passed away. Did that mean that the fellow from the Chaos Realm that he had sent into the abyss had passed? His mission was completed, but the first emissary was in a very low mood. He turned his head to look at the vast expanse of whiteness of the Great Snow Mountain and the disciples who were working hard to cultivate. He revealed a self-deprecating smile. From now on, there was no master of the Great Snow Mountain. There was only Monk Gui Zong's disciple, Tan Qing. Primordial Sword Lord. Chapter 4022. After a long while, Tan Qing wiped away his tears and returned to his usual cold and mysterious self. He stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the abyss covered in snow. Below the abyss, there was an old man that he respected who had passed away. Monk Gui Zong. Perhaps no one in this world would remember his name, but Tan Qing swore that one day, his master's wish would come true, and the chaotic realm would defeat the source realm. When the time came, he would bring the succession of his master to greater heights and let everyone know about it. There was once an expert called Monk Gui Zong who sacrificed his life to save the chaotic realm. Whoosh! Tan Qing's mind was filled with thoughts. However, at this moment, the sound of a bell suddenly rang out from the top of the great snow mountain. Then, countless cultivators swarmed to the square in front of the main hall of the great snow mountain. Whoosh! Whoosh! As the number one emissary of the great snow mountain, Tan Qing naturally came as well. The leader was the great elder. Since the mountain master was not around, he was the person in charge and the person with the highest authority. Everyone. Those present today were the upper echelons of the Great Snow Mountain. As the number one emissary, Tan Qing's status was special. He stood at the front, wearing a black robe and exuding a cold aura. No one dared to approach him. The emissaries looked at him with fear. This was the prestige of the number one emissary. I'm sure you've heard that the underworld creatures have appeared. They opened the passage between the underworld and the source realm and occupied the Ghost Manor territory. They also defeated the Sacred Land Army and killed countless experts of the devouring demon clan, the Great Elder said in a deep voice. This news had already spread in the source realm. Everyone was shocked and paid close attention. It was said that the Sacred Land was furious and had sent an even stronger army to the Ghost Manor territory to destroy the underworld army. Of course, the Great Elder did not summon everyone here to talk about this matter, but to discuss the survival of the Great Snow Mountain. The sacred land of the devouring demon clan had made it clear that the source realm was the devouring demon clan's territory and they did not welcome any other race. In the past, they turned a blind eye, but it was different now. As long as they found a foreign race, they would uproot them. There was no doubt that the Great Snow Mountain belonged to the foreign race. In the past, the devouring demon clan did not deal with them because of their remote location and special circumstances. But now, the underworld creatures had completely angered the devouring demon clan. The Holy Land had already ordered the world to wipe out the alien races. The Great Snow Mountain was in great danger. It was said that many of the devouring demons had begun to secretly discuss how to deal with the Great Snow Mountain. How can our Great Snowy Mountain survive this catastrophe? I hope everyone can share their views. The Great Elder swept his gaze across the crowd as he spoke. Why don't we just seal off the mountain? If we hold our ground, I'm afraid the devouring devils won't dare to attack us. The holy land of the devouring demons is very strong. We cannot fight them head-on. I think sealing the mountain is a good idea. If we seal the mountain, won't we be trapping ourselves on the snowy mountain? Some people were in favor of sealing the mountain, while others were against it. In short, everyone had different opinions. Meanwhile, Tan Qing spoke in a cold voice, since my snowy mountain chose to establish itself in the origin world, then we have no need to fear the Devil Devourer clan. If we were to seal ourselves off just because they wanted to eliminate foreign races, then we might as well submit to them. Everyone was speechless when they heard this. Was the first emissary planning to fight to the death with the devouring demon tribe? First emissary, I don't agree with you. You want us to fight to the death with the Devil Devourer clan. Then let me ask you, how many Devil Devourers are there in the origin world? How many people are there in our Great Snowy Mountain? If we fight them head-on, do we even have a 1% chance of winning? Faced with this question, the first emissary, Tan Qing, glanced at him coldly and said, if we had the advantage in numbers, would we still need to do this? It was precisely because they were at a disadvantage that they had to fight back. In the current situation, as long as we raise our arms and shout, there will definitely be many forces willing to support our Great Snowy Mountain. When the time comes, we can form a force that can fight against the Holy Land, said the first emissary. The Devil Devourer clan was extremely cruel. Even if they submitted to them, they would still be killed. Rather than that, it was better to fight to the end. Moreover, the first emissary, Tan Qing, was a disciple of Monk Gui Zong. He was from the chaotic realm, and the blood of the chaotic realm flowed in his body. Therefore, he was fearless. As long as he could weaken the Devil Devourer clan in the origin world, he was willing to pay any price. For a time, the upper echelons of the Great Snowy Mountain could not reach a consensus. In the end, everyone begged the Great Elder to seek help from the Mountain Lord. In the end, this matter ended hastily. Ice Abyss, Mirage. In the treasury, Fang Chen sat cross-legged. His body exuded a golden halo, and his aura was constantly rising. Cultivating here for a few days was equivalent to cultivating outside for hundreds of years. The ultimate force in his body had already condensed to more than 300 strands. 100 strands was a threshold. When he stepped into the 11th Order Saint realm, he had already broken through the obstacles on this path. In the following time, as long as he calmed down and cultivated, he would be able to condense the ultimate force. In addition, the cultivation resources in the treasury were freely available for him to use. Moreover, he had the guidance of the giant face, who had a vast amount of cultivation knowledge. In just half a month, Fang Chen had broken through to the 12th Order Saint realm. Whoosh! Fang Chen opened his eyes. The ultimate force in his body surged, and his temperament changed. His entire person became stronger. 12th Order Saint realm? Fang Chen muttered to himself. There was an unconcealable joy in his eyes. He did not expect to step into the 12th Order Saint realm unknowingly. He was only one step away from the 13th Order Saint realm. Not bad. The giant face suddenly appeared and praised Fang Chen. It's not easy for you to condense more than 100 strands of ultimate force in such a short time. If it weren't for Senior's guidance and the cultivation resources in the treasury, it would have been very difficult for me to break through. Fang Chen said humbly. The giant face shook its head. There is no doubt about your talent. It won't be long before you step into the 13th Order Saint realm. You need an opportunity. The entire origin world is in chaos. The Netherworld army and the Holy Ground army are fighting. With your current strength, unless a Venerable appears, you are almost invincible. The giant face wanted Fang Chen to go out and kill. Only in this way could he reach the 13th Order Saint realm as soon as possible. Netherworld. Fang Chen was stunned. He did not expect the ghost manor to be related to the Netherworld. Did they dare to openly declare war on the Holy Ground? Senior, do you mean to let me take advantage of the chaos to slaughter the devouring devil clan and use their blood to refine my body? Fang Chen asked. The giant face nodded and then told Fang Chen the news of Monk Guizong's death. What? Fang Chen was stunned. If you want to talk about immemorial sword sovereign with more like-minded people, follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Chapter 4023. The giant face had high hopes for Fang Chen, hoping that he could find a breakthrough in a life-and-death battle and find an opportunity to step into the 13th level Saint realm. Only in this way could he become a supreme being in the shortest time possible. I'll send you away now. As the giant face spoke, a white light flashed in the treasury. Fang Chen's figure gradually dissipated, and then his soul returned to his body. However, a spatial ring appeared in front of him out of thin air. When he opened it, there were countless cultivation resources inside. These were all prepared for him by the giant face. After all, he would be facing the most dangerous battle in the coming days. After putting away the spatial ring, Fang Chen hurriedly looked around. There was no one in the cave, only the yellow futon seemed to have the aura of Monk Guizong. As the giant face said, he had fallen. Senior. Fang Chen got up, bowed to the yellow futon, and said solemnly, I will not let you down. After saying that, he left the cave. From the giant face, he learned the way to leave the ice abyss. In addition, he had stepped into the 12th level Saint realm, and his strength had increased comprehensively. Soon, he reappeared on the Great Snow Mountain. Whoosh! As soon as he came out, he saw a figure waiting for him. This person was the first emissary of the Great Snow Mountain, Monk Guizong's disciple, Tan Qing. You succeeded? Tan Qing asked. Fang Chen nodded and saluted Tan Qing slightly. After all, Tan Qing was Monk Guizong's disciple and could be considered a compatriot of the Chaos Realm. At this moment, he could understand Tan Qing's feelings very well. I'll send you away. Tan Qing did not say much, and directly led Fang Chen away from the Great Snow Mountain quietly. When he sent him to the border of the Great Snow Mountain, Tan Qing said, "The Great Snow Mountain will gather the other major forces to fight against the devouring demon clan." Hearing this, Fang Chen was stunned for a moment, and then he saluted again to thank him. Tan Qing's figure flashed and disappeared without a trace, leaving Fang Chen with a look of regret. Over the years, one after another, people from the chaotic realm had contributed silently to save the chaotic realm. Tan Qing, Monk Gui Zong, and the others were among them. They had no complaints, and they did not have any opinions. Their only thought was to contribute more to the chaotic realm. Now, this heavy burden had fallen on his shoulders. Fang Chen was duty-bound to carry it. Devouring Devil Clan? His pitch-black eyes gazed into the distance, revealing a murderous intent. The Great Snow Mountain was located at the border and was very far from the Ghost Manor's territory. Fang Chen planned to find a nearby city and use the teleportation formation to go there. However, not long after, he ran into an unexpected person. Saint Thief Heavenly Demon Rat King. Previously, at the auction at the Mystic Dragon Pavilion, he had fought with the Celestial Beast Rat King over the remains of the Celestial Beast Rat King, which ended up infuriating him. To think that he would meet the Celestial Beast Rat King after so many days. Sky Demon Rat King nature. He did not know Fang Chen, nor did he know that the martialist standing in front of him was the person he had been looking for. "Kid, what are you doing here in the wilderness?" The Celestial Beast Rat King stared at Fang Chen cautiously. Because this place was very close to the Great Snow Mountain, ordinary people would not come here. He was worried that Fang Chen was a spy from the Great Snow Mountain and would expose his whereabouts. "Nothing," Fang Chen said. "HMPH, liar." The Celestial Beast Rat King's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He reached out his hand and grabbed Fang Chen's head. With a bang, the latter raised his hand to block the attack and forced the Celestial Beast Rat King back. "You want to kill me because of a disagreement? HMPH, who do you think you are? How dare you question me, thief sage?" The Celestial Beast Rat King said coldly. "Celestial Beast Rat King?" Fang Chen was stunned. Then, he looked at the Celestial Beast Rat King seriously. "You know me?" the Celestial Beast Rat King asked. Fang Chen shrugged. "Who in the world doesn't know you, thief sage? If that's the case, then hand over everything you have." The Celestial Beast Rat King licked his lips and said in a sinister voice. He loved to kill and rob. No matter how weak the other party was, he enjoyed the process. "I'm sorry, I can't hand them over," Fang Chen said. The Celestial Beast Rat King was enraged and attacked at lightning speed. Fang Chen grinned. Since he had stepped into the 12th Order Saint Realm, he could test his strength and see how strong he was. Boom. The surface of his skin was covered with complicated runes. His physical defense was raised to the highest level. He stood there motionlessly, waiting for the Celestial Beast Rat King's attack. The latter was enraged. "You're courting death." Boom. 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 Terrifying fist lights bombarded Fang Chen's body. However, no matter how hard the Celestial Beast Rat King attacked, he could not break through Fang Chen's defense. This scene stunned the Celestial Beast Rat King. How can his physical body be so strong? The Celestial Beast Rat King was stunned. He had never seen anyone with such a strong physical defense. The Celestial Beast Rat King is only SOSO. Fang Chen curled his lips. He thought that the Celestial Beast Rat King's attack would be able to break through his defense. However, it seemed like he was thinking too much. "You've finished your attack. It's my turn now." Saying this, Fang Chen clenched his fists tightly. The ultimate force in his body was unleashed and gathered on his fists. He then threw out his strongest punch with an overwhelming aura. The power of this punch was enough to destroy the heavens and earth. However, the Sky Demon Rat King forcefully controlled the fist radiance so that it would not dissipate. Wherever the fist passed, the void would shatter. The Sky Demon Rat King was completely shocked. This, sensing the incoming fist lights, the Celestial Beast Rat King's heart was filled with fear. His body uncontrollably wanted to retreat. However, it was too late. Fang Chen's attack was too strong. When the fist landed on the celestial beast Rat King's body, the latter's body exploded. Even his primordial spirit was shattered. No! The celestial beast Rat King screamed in pain. He wanted to protect his primordial spirit and escape. Catcher! However, the fist lights were too strong. The aura that escaped from it instantly destroyed his primordial spirit. Until his death, the celestial beast Rat King did not know who killed him. Whoosh! When the power dissipated, Fang Chen curled his lips. He had killed a martial artist at the peak of the Saint Realm with a single punch. If he were to go all out, it would be difficult for him to find an opponent in the Saint Realm. Even a half-step chaotic supremacy might not be his match. At this moment, Fang Chen's eyes shone with golden light. As long as the Devouring Demon Clan's patriarch did not appear, he could slaughter the Devouring Demon Clan's sacred ground alone. Devouring Demon Clan, are you ready? Fang Chen asked. The celestial beast Rat King had escaped from the Reverend King's attack. However, in the end, he died in the hands of the person who wanted to steal his skeleton. Perhaps this was karma. Whoosh! Fang Chen put away the spatial ring of the celestial beast Rat King and left. After a long time, someone came and found the corpse. When he walked closer, he recognized the celestial beast Rat King and shouted. Then, the news spread quickly. The celestial beast Rat King was killed on the Great Snow Mountain Plain. When the news came out, it shocked the entire northernmost land. If you want to talk about Sword Master Immemorial with more like-minded people, follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find friends Tilda. Chapter 4024. The news of the celestial demonic Rat King's death shocked all the forces. Many people suspected that the killer of the celestial demonic Rat King was the mysterious expert in VIP room number 9. Of course, many people also guessed that it was the Great Snow Mountain's expert. After all, the celestial demon Rat King had publicly declared that the Great Snow Mountain would never have a day of peace from then on. And in the years that followed, his actions had successfully proved his words. He often sneaked into the Great Snow Mountain to steal treasures, but the Great Snow Mountain failed to track him down. However, no one expected that. The famous thief saint would die in a strange way. In a dense forest, the Reverend King was practicing an evil cultivation method. Suddenly, his communication token vibrated, and his face turned gloomy. The celestial demonic Rat King is dead. The Reverend King once fought with the celestial demonic Rat King in the mountains outside the Mystery Dragon City. In that battle, he revealed his true strength that he had been hiding for many years and severely injured the celestial demonic Rat King. Although the celestial demonic Rat King had escaped, the Reverend King had been searching for the celestial demonic Rat King's whereabouts. Who killed it? The Reverend King rolled his eyes and said coldly. He thought of a person, the mysterious expert in VIP room number 9. Since the battle in the Mystery Dragon City, he had completely disappeared from people's sight. Go and investigate. Don't let go of any clues. The Reverend King immediately ordered. However, Fang Chen, who was in the middle of the whirlpool, did not know that his killing of the celestial demonic Rat King would cause such a big commotion. At this moment, he had already left the extreme north and arrived at a city. Indigo Prefecture, one of the many mansions under the Devouring Demon Clan's sacred land. Although it was not a top mansion, it was famous. The Lord of Indigo Prefecture was known as Bloodshorer. His dark blood killing technique was terrifying. He was one of the most powerful generals under the Devouring Demon Clan's sacred land. He had been searching everywhere for people from the chaotic realm who had sneaked into the origin world and then cruelly killed them. It was a waste of time to go to the Ghost Prefecture's territory by walking. Fang Chen wanted to take the cross-region teleportation formation, so he could only use the teleportation formation in Indigo Prefecture. Recently, Indigo Prefecture's territory was heavily guarded. Anyone who passed through had to go through a strict investigation before they were allowed to pass. After Fang Chen concealed his aura, he quickly entered Indigo Prefecture. However, just as he was about to take the cross-region teleportation array, something unexpected happened. A deafening sound reverberated through the sky. Everyone was shocked. They raised their heads and saw that there was an earth-shattering battle in the sky. Rumble. The intense battle caused the crowd below to tremble. A terrifying aura permeated the entire Indigo Prefecture. That's the Manor Lord. Heavens! Just who is it that dares to trespass on Indigo Prefecture's territory? Main battle? This person is simply courting death. Sounds of disdain could be heard from the crowd. Originally, Fang Chen had planned to ignore the situation. However, when he sensed the aura of the stranger fighting the Indigo Prefecture Lord, his expression changed drastically. Brethren of the Chaos Realm? Although the fluctuation was very weak, he still caught it. After experiencing the tempering of the void dimension, Fang Chen's primordial spirit had become even stronger. It was invincible in the Saint Plane, second only to the primordial spirits of primal chaos supremes. In just a few seconds, he caught a glimpse of that weak aura. Dong, 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 dong. The Indigo Prefecture Lord was very strong and easily suppressed his opponent. The latter had no power to resist and was about to be killed by the Indigo Prefecture Lord. Kill the foreign race without mercy. Everyone knew that the Indigo Prefecture Lord was very loyal to the sacred land. He would mercilessly slaughter any foreign race. Now that he had discovered a foreign race in Indigo Prefecture, how could he let it go? Boom! The Indigo Prefecture Lord gathered all his strength into his fist and punched down. It was about to hit that person. Die! The Indigo Prefecture Lord roared. His fist quickly landed. That person closed his eyes in pain, preparing to meet his death. I can't accept this, he roared hysterically. Boom! The Indigo Prefecture Lord's fist increased in strength and instantly punched down. Just when everyone thought that the battle was about to end, Fang Chen made his move. Whoosh! He flicked his finger in the dark, and a terrifying ray of light instantly shot out. It collided with the Indigo Prefecture Lord's fist and forced him back. That person was stunned and then frantically fled. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, he had escaped from Indigo Prefecture. You can't escape. The Indigo Prefecture Lord was prepared to kill this person first and then find the person who had ambushed him. However, when he chased out of the city, Fang Chen had already arrived and blocked his path. Who are you? The Indigo Prefecture Lord asked coldly. Boom! Fang Chen didn't say anything and directly attacked. The person who had already fled was puzzled when he saw someone blocking the Indigo Prefecture Lord for him. Why did he save me? Could he have seen through my identity? After pondering for a moment, he decided to go back and save Fang Chen. If they were really of the same race, he definitely wouldn't let Fang Chen fall into danger. Boom! This person turned back and fought side by side with Fang Chen against the Indigo Prefecture Lord. Brother, leave quickly. You go first. Leave this to me. Fang Chen forced the Indigo Prefecture Lord back with a punch and said in a deep voice. But that person wasn't willing to abandon Fang Chen. However, the next scene shocked him. Fang Chen activated the ultimate force. The ultimate force in his body punched out, causing the entire sky to collapse. Indigo Prefecture instantly turned into ruins. The terrifying power seemed to be able to destroy the heavens and earth. Not good. The Indigo Prefecture Lord cursed inwardly and wanted to retreat, but it was already too late. As the Indigo Prefecture behind him was reduced to rubble and countless miserable cries rang out from within the city, Fang Chen had already arrived above the Indigo Prefecture Lord. He circulated his ultimate force and smashed the latter to the ground with a heavy punch. Crack! The sound of bones shattering rang out as the Indigo Prefecture Lord fell to the ground, losing the ability to fight. Whoosh! Fang Chen showed no mercy to the devouring devil race and directly killed them. Let's go. After doing all this, Fang Chen quickly left with that person. Not long after, the experts of the devouring devil race's sacred land rushed over using secret treasures. When they saw the smoke rising, the ruins of Indigo Prefecture, and the lifeless Indigo Prefecture Lord, they were stunned. How is this possible? A residence under the command of a dignified holy land had actually been reduced to ashes in an instant. Who had done it? In the entire origin world, no force could do it. After being stunned for a short while, Everyone was furious. Investigate. Find the culprit at all cost. How dare he slaughter the people of my devouring devil race? He is courting death. At this moment, Fang Chen had already fled 1,000 miles away with that person. Huff, huff, huff. That person panted as he sat on the ground. He looked up at Fang Chen and asked, "Brother, may I ask where you are from? If you want to talk about primordial sword supremacy with more like-minded people, follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find friends tilde." Chapter 40-25. The murder of the Indigo Prefecture Lord had shaken the entire sacred land of the devouring demons. All the higher-ups had expressed that they would find the murderer at all costs. If it were any other time, the sacred land would be angry, but they would not be as anxious as they were now. After all, the Indigo Prefecture Lord was not ranked very high among the many prefecture lords. Even if he was really dead, the loss would not be great. But it was different now. It was the time when they were in full war with the underworld army. The murder of the Indigo Prefecture Lord would definitely be a blow to the morale of the army. All the devouring demons in the source world felt a chill run down their spine. Therefore, the death of the Indigo Prefecture Lord was just an opportunity for the devouring demons to re-establish their dignity. So, they'd given the order that the culprit had to be found and punished severely. They wanted the world to know that the Devil-Devouring clan was still the ruler of the origin world, and anyone who dared to go against the Devil-Devouring clan would only suffer a single fate: annihilation. However, at this moment, in a mountain range far away from the Indigo Prefecture, Fang Chen was listening to the warrior he had saved talk about his identity. "Brother, I didn't expect you to be from the chaotic realm." The man grinned and cupped his fists. "I am from the Mu clan of the chaotic realm. My name is Mu Xin." Hearing this, Fang Chen's heart skipped a beat. He was extremely surprised. When he was in the chaotic realm, he became the leader of the human race and knew all the clans and forces in the chaotic realm. The Mu clan was one of the top forces. However, due to certain reasons, it had fallen into decline. However, it was undeniable that the Mu clan had contributed greatly to the human race. Therefore, the Mu clan still had a place in the human race's sacred land. Mu Xin was once a genius of the Mu clan. He had reached the pinnacle of the Mu clan right from the start. He had appeared out of nowhere and swept through his peers. He was invincible. The human clan had placed their hopes on him. He was an expert who had a chance to step into the primal chaos realm. However, one day, he mysteriously disappeared. Since then, the Mu clan had fallen into decline. At that time, everyone guessed that Mu Xin had died in the chaotic battlefield. However, who would have thought that after so many years, Fang Chen would meet Mu Xin in the source world and save his life? "You are Mu Xin?" Fang Chen was stunned. He immediately clasped his fists. In his memory, Mu Xin was a person worthy of respect. He had led the Mu family and made great contributions to the human race. "You didn't die when you mysteriously vanished all those years ago, but instead came to the origin world," Fang Chen said. At the same time, he revealed his identity. When Mu Xin learned that the person in front of him was the new leader of the human race in the Chaos Realm, he hurriedly stood up and bowed deeply. He cupped his fists and said, "Mu Xin greets the Lord Leader. No need to be so courteous. I'm very happy to be able to meet my fellow countrymen in a foreign land. However, why are you with the Indigo Prefecture Lord?" Fang Chen did not understand. After that, Mu Xin began to explain how she had come to the origin world from the Chaos world and how she had endured for so many years. She explained everything in detail. Su Fang Chen. After hearing this, Fang Chen was also greatly shocked. It seemed that the origin world really wasn't as simple as it seemed on the surface. At the very least, there were many of their brethren from the Chaos Realm who were secretly waiting for an opportunity. It turned out, Mu Xin was found by the Great Sovereign when he was trying to break through to the Chaos Supremacy Realm. He then reincarnated and came to the origin world. After that, he endured and cultivated. Later, due to a special reason, Mu Xin lost contact with the Great Sovereign. The Great Sovereign thought that Mu Xin had died and the mission was naturally declared a failure. This led to the great sovereign's decision to let Fang Chen carry out the mission. All these years, Mu Xin had been hiding in the Indigo Prefecture, cultivating and looking for opportunities. There were many times when he saw the Indigo Prefecture Lord slaughtering his fellow countrymen in the Chaos Realm, but he endured the pain and did not act. He knew that he had a heavy responsibility on his shoulders and could not fail the mission because of a moment of hot-headedness. Recently, the Underworld Army and the Sacred Land Army are at war. I feel that the time is right. Take advantage of the chaos and kill some devouring demon clansmen. I think it will shake the morale of the Sacred Land Army, Mu Xin said. He did not expect that the Indigo Prefecture Lord had hidden his strength and was able to suppress him. If the leader of the human race had not come to his rescue in time, he would have died at the hands of the Indigo Prefecture Lord. Thank you for saving me, Lord Leader, Mu Xin thanked him. Fang Chen waved his hand. Although we are now in a period of war, we can't act blindly. Why are you in the Indigo Prefecture, Lord Leader? Mu Xin asked. I was going to the battlefield between the Underworld Army and the Sacred Land Army to use the cross-region teleportation formation of the Indigo Prefecture, but I ran into you, Fang Chen said. What do you plan to do next? Mu Xin pondered for a moment and said, since my identity has been exposed, I might as well kill more devouring demon clansmen. You are still a little weak. If you encounter a powerful prefecture lord, you will only die. How about this? Go to the Great Snow Mountain and find the first emissary. He will tell you what to do next, Fang Chen said. Huh? Mu Xin did not understand. Why did he want to find the first emissary of the Great Snow Mountain? Could it be? The Great Snow Mountain is not a force of the Chaos Realm, but there are people of the Chaos Realm behind the Great Snow Mountain. You will know when you see the first emissary, Fang Chen said. When you see him, mention my name. But, Lord Leader, it is not safe for you to go to the battlefield alone, Mu Xin said worriedly. Fang Chen shook his head and smiled. Don't worry. With my current realm, unless a primal Chaos Supreme expert acts, no one can do anything to me. Mu Xin wanted to say something, but when he thought of how the Lord Leader killed the Indigo Prefecture Lord with a wave of his hand, he was shocked. In the end, he bid farewell to Fang Chen and headed to the Great Snow Mountain in the extreme north. He definitely could not go to the Indigo Prefecture. The experts of the devouring demon sacred land would definitely be guarding it. Fang Chen thought for a moment, then went around the mountain range and went to another mansion. He successfully took the teleportation formation. The cross-region teleportation formation arrived at the mansion next to the Ghost Prefecture territory. Here, Fang Chen heard a lot about the battle between the two armies. In the distant void, he saw endless black fog shrouding the Ghost Prefecture territory. From time to time, he could hear miserable cries coming from within. The battle is too intense. I heard that the Underworld Army has already taken over several mansions. The Sacred Land Army is fighting fiercely with them. Ch. A mere Underworld Army dares to challenge the Devouring Demon Clan? They are simply courting death. The Sacred Lord has recovered. If the Underworld Army continues to be stubborn, the Sacred Lord will take action to suppress them. What? The Sacred Lord has come out of seclusion? On the streets, everyone was discussing. The Sacred Lord was the strongest person in the Devouring Demon Clan's sacred land. He was second only to the Devouring Demon Clan's patriarch. He had 8 generals and 4 war gods under his command. If he came out of seclusion, the Underworld Army might really be wiped out. I wonder what trump cards the Underworld Army has. Fang Chen thought to himself. End of chapter. Chapter 4026. Fengyu Manor. It was one of the many mansions under the sacred land. It was not too close to the Ghost Manor, but there were still a few mansions in between. Therefore, it was able to survive the attack of the Underworld Army. Now, many people had gathered at Fengyu Manor to watch the battle between the two armies. Fang Chen heard a lot about the Underworld Army here. He even saw a large number of devouring demons from the sacred land marching towards the Ghost Manor every day. Have you heard? The Sacred Land Army's attack has been blocked. My cousin's third brother's second brother-in-law is a guard in the Sacred Land. He told me that since yesterday, the Sacred Land has been dead silent. All the higher-ups' faces are not looking good, and they have sent a large number of troops to the Ghost Manor. I heard about it too. It is said that there is a monstrous cultivator in the Underworld army. His cultivation method is completely different from ours. He is the one who blocked the Sacred Land army outside the Ghost Manor's territory by himself. In Fengyu Manor, countless people were discussing. From time to time, there would be cultivators from the Sacred Land passing by. They immediately shut their mouths and did not dare to talk. What a joke! Even the members of the Devouring Demon clan were divided into different ranks. The Devouring Demon clan of the Holy Land had always boasted of being the most orthodox clan with the purest bloodline. As for the Devouring Demon clan of the other mansions, they were all branches and had no right to speak. Whoosh! Just as Fang Chen was asking for information, there was suddenly a shout from the city gate. Then, a large group of people entered the city. When they saw the person in the lead, everyone exclaimed, "Oh my God, even that person is here." The number one genius of the Sacred Land, known as the genius with the strongest potential in the devouring demons in hundreds of millions of years. Why is he here? After the shock, many people were full of doubts. Logically speaking, the younger generation should not be able to intervene in a battle of this level. Moreover, the Sacred Land had always protected the number one genius and was not willing to let him take the risk. After all, he represented the future of the devouring demons. But now, the number one genius of the Sacred Land had come. Was he personally leading the team to destroy the Underworld army? Get out of the way! The guards on both sides angrily shouted at the passers-by, making them make way. The number one genius of the Sacred Land rode on a warhorse with a gloomy face. Although he was arrogant and domineering, no one dared to say anything. How arrogant! On the quiet street, a voice suddenly rang out. Everyone's head exploded with a bang. They all turned their heads to look for the source of the voice. Who is it? Someone cried out. Soon, everyone realized that the person who had spoken was Fang Chen, and they looked at him in fear as they made way for him. How dare you! One of the guards' eyes flashed with killing intent. He jumped off his horse and punched out at Fang Chen. Anyone who dared to provoke the number one genius would be killed without mercy. At this moment, the number one prodigy's expression remained calm. He did not even look Fang Chen in the eye. In the entire Origin realm, there were very few people who could make him look at them in the eye. Crack! When the guard's fist collided with Fang Chen's, a deafening sound erupted. Bang! To everyone's astonishment, Fang Chen didn't move at all, but the guard flew out and fell at the foot of the horse. What? Everyone gasped and stared at Fang Chen. They thought to themselves that he was dead for daring to provoke the number one prodigy. How dare you not make way for the number one prodigy? How dare you injure the guard? Finally, someone couldn't help but rebuke angrily. Fang Chen raised his head and looked ahead. He said calmly, "Is his name engraved on this street?" "Of course not." That person said coldly, "But the number one prodigy is the chief disciple of the sacred ground and the future hope of the demon-devouring clan. He has a high position and authority. Who doesn't give way to him wherever he goes?" Fang Chen continued, "Since his name isn't engraved, why can't we walk? Just because you want to leave, you want to chase everyone away. Is this the so-called number one prodigy of the sacred ground? I think he's just an arrogant and domineering playboy." He didn't give the number one prodigy any face and said coldly. The onlookers who didn't know what was going on were completely stunned. Who was this person? How dare he offend the people of the sacred ground? Was he tired of living? "You're courting death." The person who spoke stomped his foot, causing his warhorse to tremble. His silhouette flashed as he rushed over with lightning speed, wanting to kill Fang Chen in a single strike. However, everyone had underestimated Fang Chen's strength. Fang Chen casually punched out, causing the body of that person to stiffen and fall onto the ground, losing all signs of life. Everyone was dumbfounded. He had killed the number one prodigy of the sacred ground in front of him. This was a slap in the face. He had slapped the number one prodigy's face. He had slapped the sacred ground's face. Everyone's eyes fell on the number one prodigy. Sure enough, the latter was slightly angry as they had expected. You're strong, but that's not a reason for you to provoke me. When these words were spoken, everyone sighed. This guy was dead for sure. The number one prodigy of the sacred ground had said that no one in the world could save him. And then, Fang Chen retorted. Anyway, the purpose of this trip was to take advantage of the chaos to kill the devouring demons. Since he had bumped into the number one prodigy of the sacred ground, he would kill him first. That was the number one prodigy. If he killed him, the sacred ground would feel the pinch. Kill yourself. Don't force me to do it. The number one prodigy said coldly, as if he was talking to an ant. His high and mighty attitude made everyone hold their breaths. Everyone came to a sudden realization and thought of something. Once, someone had angered the number one prodigy. The number one prodigy asked him to kill himself, but he refused. After that, the number one prodigy took action. The consequences were severe. Not only did he destroy the person's carriage, but he also killed the person's entire family. There's no such word in my dictionary. Fang Chen said with a playful smile. Could it be that the number one prodigy of the sacred ground earned his title by talking big? Fang Chen's words were humiliating as he looked at the number one prodigy of the sacred ground. Boom. Before the number one prodigy could get angry, the large group behind him went berserk. An extremely terrifying force spread out and swept across the entire Wind-Rain Manor. The onlookers all retreated, afraid that they would be affected by the upcoming battle. Hee hee. It seems like you still don't understand how terrifying my title of number one prodigy of the sacred ground is. The number one prodigy squinted his eyes. After not making a move for so many years, had the world forgotten his fear back then? If that was the case, then today, he would use this person's blood to remind the world that the sacred ground was not to be humiliated. He was still an invincible existence. It's just an undeserved reputation. It's not that scary. Primordial Sword Lord. Chapter 4027. The number one sky pride of the Holy Land was undeserved. As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned. Was this guy courting death? How dare he speak so rudely to the number one sky pride? The top powers from the devouring demon tribe were furious. They could not hold themselves back and wanted to take action. However, they were stopped by the number one sky pride. Leave it to me. He wanted to take action personally and kill the troublemaker. He wanted to let the world know that the sky prides of the Holy Land were not to be humiliated. Boom. The number one sky pride let out a low growl as he formed hand seals with both hands. The terrifying aura of the devouring demon race surrounded his body and formed a thick layer of armor. On the surface of the armor, there were complicated runes that were glowing. When the crowd saw this, they exclaimed in shock. Is that the Holy Land's demonic dragon skill? Oh my god, the number one sky pride is too strong. He has cultivated the demonic dragon skill. I heard that the demonic dragon skill is very complicated. Even those old monsters at the peak of the Saint Realm might not be able to comprehend it. I did not expect the number one sky pride to have cultivated it at such a young age. Roar. Vast power exuded from the number one sky pride's body. One could vaguely hear the loud roar of a dragon echoing in everyone's ears. Many of the weaker martial artists felt that their eardrums were about to shatter. They quickly retreated, their faces pale. Roar. The number one sky pride glared at Fang Chen. Within his pitch-black pupils, there was a black dragon swimming around, letting out a series of roars. At the same time, he let out a deep roar as the black aura around his body gathered above his head, forming into an ancient black dragon. The moment the ancient black dragon formed, the sky lost its color. The entire Wind-Rain Mansion was covered by dark clouds. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. You should be proud to die under my demonic dragon skill. The number one sky pride said indifferently. In his opinion, once he used the demonic dragon skill, he would definitely kill Lin Fan. Is that so? Fang Chen curled his lips and smiled. The energy in his body vibrated as he activated his strongest sword body. Sword chi surrounded his body and formed the strongest defense. He clenched his fists and entered battle mode. However, at this moment, The ancient black dragon roared and rushed over with unparalleled power that made people's hearts palpitate. Everyone believed that Fang Chen would definitely die under the powerful attack of the primordial black dragon. However, the result was beyond everyone's expectations. Boom! When the primordial black dragon was infinitely close to Fang Chen, the latter gathered his strength and threw a punch. With a loud crack, everyone was dumbfounded. The primordial black dragon was sent flying. Roar! The primordial black dragon's body twisted in the void. After stabilizing its body, it glared at Fang Chen with its huge head. It was extremely angry. It opened its bloody mouth and wanted to devour Fang Chen. At this moment, the aura of the devouring demon tribe on the primordial black dragon's body soared to the extreme. However, what happened next made everyone's chest rise. Dumbfounded. Boom! Boom! Fang Chen did not take the initiative to attack. However, as long as the primordial black dragon approached him, he would be sent flying with a punch. At first, everyone thought that it was just a fluke. However, as time passed, everyone was stunned. There was actually someone in this world who could challenge the #1 sky pride of a saint ground. A pair of iron fists forced the primordial black dragon to retreat and neutralized the top cultivation technique of the Holy Land, the Devil Dragon art. It was unbelievable. Even the #1 sky pride of a saint ground gradually disappeared from his face. It was replaced with indifference and solemnity. He frowned and stared at Fang Chen, wanting to see through him. However, he was disappointed. The latter's body was like a bottomless abyss. As long as his primordial spirit approached, it would be devoured. He could not see through him at all. Crack! After forcing the primordial black dragon to retreat, Fang Chen used his ultimate strength for the last punch. With a loud boom, the primordial black dragon's head exploded and its body collapsed. The monstrous aura of the devouring demon tribe returned to the #1 sky pride. Who exactly are you? The onlookers were extremely excited. They thought that it would be a one-sided battle. Who would have thought that the ordinary-looking guy in front of them would be able to fight against the #1 sky pride of a saint ground? There would definitely be an earth-shattering battle next. Now you know how to ask. Fang Chen said coldly. Previously, you treated me as an ant and did not even bother to look at me. However, I have to disappoint you. The ant in your eyes has broken the demonic dragon technique that you are so proud of. As he spoke, Fang Chen shrugged, expressing his extreme dissatisfaction with the #1 sky pride of a saint ground. The so-called demonic dragon technique was just SOSO. The #1 sky pride of a saint ground was just an undeserved reputation. Boom! The #1 sky pride of a saint ground took a step forward and came in front of Fang Chen. Do you know what your actions mean? Going against a saint ground was equivalent to going against the entire devouring demon tribe. What? Only the saint ground is allowed to bully others, but others are not allowed to retaliate. Fang Chen retorted. Good, very good. The #1 sky pride laughed in anger. I would like to see how capable you are. As soon as he finished speaking, the #1 prodigy leaped into the air. His body actually transformed into a giant dragon that soared in the air. Seeing this, Fang Chen also leaped into the air and engaged in battle with him. Rumble. The deafening sound of the battle resounded through the sky. Everyone in the wind and rain manor looked up. The battle was too intense, and a terrifying force swept through the entire wind and rain manor, blocking everyone's vision. They could only hear the terrifying movements in the sky. HMPH, overestimating himself. How dare he challenge the #1 sky pride? The #1 sky pride is invincible. He is courting death. The experts under the #1 sky pride sneered. As for the surrounding crowd, they were guessing who the final victor of this battle would be. Who would it be? After a long time, the black mist in the sky gradually dissipated, and the sounds of the battle disappeared. Everyone looked up and looked for the two sky prides. The battle was over. Boom! Suddenly, a figure fell from the sky. Without any resistance, he smashed into the ground, kicking up a lot of dust. That is. After the dust settled, everyone stared with their eyes wide open and were stunned. The person who had fallen on the ground was the #1 sky pride, and he had already lost his vitality. No. Only then did the number 1 Sky Pride's subordinates react. They walked to his side and shouted angrily. Swoosh. At this time, Fang Chen's figure also fell from the sky, but he did not look embarrassed at all. It was as if he had not participated in the previous battle. How could this be? Everyone felt dizzy. What was going on? Why did the number 1 Sky Pride die in such a strange way? Could it be that this guy's strength was above the Saint realm? Otherwise, how could he kill the number 1 Sky Pride? Countless eyes were focused on Fang Chen, and they could not help but step back. Their hearts were filled with fear. The number 1 Sky Pride subordinates wanted to heal him, but after a series of actions, they found that he was completely dead. You killed the number 1 Sky Pride? They glared angrily at Fang Chen. Something big had happened. The heavens had been trampled. If you want to talk about Primordial Sword Master with more like-minded people, follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find friends Tilda. Chapter 4028. The people of the Wind and Rain Mansion were completely dumbfounded. The top prodigy of the sacred land had come with an unparalleled battle intent, but he had died in the hands of a strange man before even stepping into the Ghost Mansion battlefield. Wasn't this too exaggerated? Who was this person? How could he kill the top prodigy of the sacred land so easily? The people of the sacred land under the top prodigy were furious and instantly surrounded Fang Chen. You're courting death. In the next moment, the devouring demon clan attacked together, wanting to kill Fang Chen. However, they had overestimated their strength. Even the top prodigy of the sacred land was no match for him, let alone his subordinates. In the end, the people brought by the top prodigy were all wiped out. The entire Wind and Rain Mansion was filled with murderous intent, and no one dared to stand up for the top prodigy. Who is he? In the entire Source world, there is no one in the younger generation who can match the top prodigy of the sacred land. Even if there is, they don't have the guts to kill the top prodigy of the sacred land in public. Everyone knew that if this matter was spread back to the sacred land, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. At that time, the higher-ups of the sacred land would issue the strongest arrest warrant, and Fang Chen would never have a day of peace. However, Fang Chen did not care at all. After he killed the devouring demon clan under the top prodigy, he left, leaving everyone dumbfounded. This matter instantly blew up in the Wind and Rain Mansion, and then it spread at a very fast speed. After hearing this, the first reaction of the people in the various manors was to be dumbfounded, and then they were curious about who the murderer was. 3 days later, someone heard an angry roar from the devouring demon clan's sacred land that lasted for an hour. The experts of the sacred land were furious. Some said that the sacred land was unprecedentedly furious, and they swore to find the murderer and bring him to justice. Some said that the generals under the sacred lord had personally come to find the murderer. Some said that the sacred lord had taken action. In short, there were all kinds of different opinions. However, as the main character, Fang Chen was currently hiding in a mountain range 100 kilometers away from the Wind and Rain Mansion. He was lying on the branch of a towering tree, basking in the sun comfortably. I guess the top powers of the devouring demon tribe have already heard the news. Fang Chen's lips curled into a playful smile. He had purposely killed the number 1 genius of the Holy Ground in order to infuriate the Holy Ground. Then, the Holy Ground would continuously send experts to hunt him down. At that time, he would be able to continuously slaughter the experts of the Holy Ground and weaken the strength of the devouring demon tribe. I didn't think that the Underworld Army would become our helpers, Fang Chen said with a smile. Life Forbidden Zone. Not long ago, the White Ape clan had received orders from the primitive tribes to prepare for battle. At this time, the old White Ape was leading the 3 little White Apes, ready to go. Wang. At this moment, a ripple appeared in the old White Ape's mind. Then, his body trembled and a hint of battle intent appeared in his eyes. He swept his gaze across the crowd and said loudly, "Everyone, this battle will determine whether the White Ape tribe will rise or be annihilated. As a member of our tribe, even if we die in battle, we will not bow our heads. We're about to set off. Is there anyone else who wants to back out?" It was not too late to withdraw now. but from now on, he would be expelled from the White Ape clan. However, none of the White Apes backed out. We pledge our lives to follow the clan leader. Alright, let's go to the Ghost Mansion territory. The old White Ape's voice resounded throughout the canyon. The mighty White Ape clan had all set off. Their target was the Ghost Mansion territory. They wanted to take this opportunity to join forces with the Underworld army to destroy the Holy Ground army. After the White Ape clan set off, in the depths of the life-forbidden zone, Princess Huang stood behind her master and asked, "Master, I've been feeling uneasy recently. Did something happen outside?" The old man smiled and looked at his good disciple, saying, "You're not concerned about what's happening outside. You just want to know about Fang Chen's situation." Princess Huang's white cheeks blushed a little when her master saw through her. She was a little shy and lowered her head, asking in a delicate voice, "Master, how is Fang Chen now? Since we separated, he has been hiding for a long time. He should have gone to the Great Snow Mountain during this period. Not long ago, we received news that a mysterious man had killed the number one heaven's pride of the Holy Ground in front of everyone in the Wind and Rain Palace not far from the Ghost Mansion territory. I guess that person should be him." As soon as these words came out, Princess Huang looked worried. He killed the number one heaven's pride of the Holy Ground. Won't he be targeted by the experts of the Holy Ground? The old man shook his head. He's not the same as before. With his current strength, I'm afraid that even I am no match for him. Unless the Holy Lord or his subordinates take action, only then will they pose a threat to Fang Chen. Otherwise, the others will just be sending themselves to their deaths. Moreover, according to the old man's analysis, the reason why Fang Chen had killed the number one heaven's pride of the Holy Ground in such a high-profile manner should be to slaughter more members of the devouring demon clan. But Princess Huang was still a little worried, but there was no other way. She was too weak and couldn't help Fang Chen at all. "Master, what is the attitude of my clan?" The old man pondered for a moment and then said, "This time, the Underworld army has attacked. The final battle has arrived. My clan has already sent the White Ape clan as the vanguard to scout out the enemy's situation. Will my clan take action as well?" Princess Huang asked. "My clan won't take action easily. After all, we still have to guard against the devouring demon clan's leader. He is the real threat." When the old man mentioned the devouring demon clan's leader, his eyes were filled with fear. The devouring demon clan's leader was a genuine primal chaos supreme expert. Moreover, with his own strength, he had forcefully intercepted 2/3 of the primal chaos world's fate. If it wasn't for the sudden change at the last moment, the primal chaos world would have already ceased to exist. The goal of the primitive races was to occupy the source world, and this was the best opportunity. Of course, they wouldn't take action easily. It would be best if both the Underworld army and the Holy Ground army suffered heavy losses and let the people of the primal chaos world join in as well. In the final battle, the primitive races would be the ones who would reap the benefits. Don't think too much. Hurry up and comprehend the strongest secret technique of my clan. The old man raised his hand and knocked on Princess Huang's forehead. He said dotingly, "When the final battle arrives, my clan will definitely be involved. At that time, I'm afraid even I won't be able to protect you. You can only protect yourself. Therefore, during this period, you must increase your strength as quickly as possible. If you can comprehend the strongest secret technique of my clan, you will have the strength to protect yourself in the final battle. Master, I won't let you down." Princess Huang gritted her teeth and said. It wasn't for anything else but for the person she missed in her heart. She had to comprehend the strongest secret technique of the primitive races. "You have always been the one taking care of me. Just wait. It won't be long before I can help you." Immemorial Sword Lord. Chapter 4029. The Origin World was personally created by the devouring demon clan leader. It was originally inferior to the Chaos Realm, but after absorbing 2/3 of the Chaos Realm's providence, it was superior to the Chaos Realm. In the beginning, the devouring demon clan was the absolute ruler of the Origin World. However, as time passed and the devouring demon clan had not appeared for a long time, many forces were eager to make a move. With the secret efforts of many of their compatriots in the Chaos Realm, The major forces had been waiting patiently. Now, the Underworld Army was the first to attack and start a war with the Holy Land Army. Soon after, countless forces joined the battle. Even the Great Snow Mountain could not stay out of it. The primitive tribes were also watching, waiting to reap the benefits. The entire origin world was in chaos, but the Holy Lord was still very confident that as long as all the experts of the Holy Land were mobilized, they would definitely be able to quell the war. They believed that the source of all this was the Underworld Army. If they killed all of them, the war would naturally end. Therefore, from time to time, a large number of troops would be sent to the Ghost Manor territory. However, the Underworld Army was not to be trifled with. They had waited for so long and dared to fight head-on. During this period of time, the Ghost Manor territory was in constant chaos. The experts of the Holy Land had suffered heavy casualties. Of course, the Underworld Army's method was to kill 1,000 enemies and lose 800 of their own. They had no choice. If they wanted to defeat the devouring demon clan in their territory, they had to use such an extremely cruel method. During this period of time, Fang Chen was not in a hurry to enter the battlefield in the Ghost Manor territory. Instead, he roamed the wilderness outside the Storm Manor and intercepted the experts sent by the Holy Land. With his current strength, unless the Holy Lord personally intervened, no one could defeat him. As long as he intercepted the devouring demon clan's troops, they would almost certainly die. In just 3 months, 8 of the 9 troops sent by the Holy Land had been completely annihilated. There was not even any news back. For a time, the entire Holy Land was shaken. Today, all the experts, including the Holy Lord, gathered together to discuss this matter. Holy Lord, we've sent out 9 teams in the past 3 months. 8 of them were completely annihilated, and we didn't get any news back. Only 1 team was lucky enough to enter the Stormy Manor, then entered the Ghost Manor's territory and joined the war. But in the end, they also died at the hands of the Underworld Army, said a general. Strictly speaking, for the past 3 months, the Sacred Land had given almost zero support to the Sacred Land legions in the Ghost Manor territory. Who is it that is secretly intercepting and slaughtering our Holy Land's troops? Another general asked coldly. Could it be a primitive tribe? When the words primitive tribes were mentioned, everyone's expression changed drastically. Clearly, they were a little worried that the primitive tribes would join the war. Everyone turned to look at the Holy Master. He had a head full of white hair, but he was in high spirits. He exuded a cold aura, as if he was an ancient top power who had followed the devouring demon tribe. After so many years, he had already touched the threshold of supremacy. He was only a step away from stepping into the primal chaos supremacy realm. He vaguely remembered the supreme treasure that the devouring demon clan leader had left him. If the devouring demon clan was in danger, he could use that supreme treasure to raise his fighting power to the level of a chaotic supreme for a short period of time. That way, he could protect the devouring demon clan. The primitive races shouldn't be participating in the war, the Holy Master said in a low voice. Back then, the clan leader personally visited the primitive races and reached a secret agreement with them. For 30,000 chaos epochs, the primitive races can't do anything to the devouring demon clan. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief when they heard this. With this agreement, the primitive races shouldn't violate it. As for the subordinate races under their command, they wouldn't be much of a threat to the devouring demon clan. If that's the case, who is intercepting our troops? One of the generals asked. Do you think it could be the person who killed the number 1 prodigy? The first general suddenly said. Everyone was shocked. After thinking about it carefully, it was possible. First of all, the murderer of the number 1 prodigy had the strength to intercept the Sacred Land's troops. Second, he had killed the number 1 prodigy, which meant that he had become enemies with the Sacred Land. He was definitely an enemy. Holy Master, I implore you to join the battle. The Tianlin general stepped forward and cupped his fists. He was ranked 3rd among the generals, and his strength had reached the peak of the Saint Realm. In the entire origin world, there were less than 5 people who could defeat him. Very well, you will blend in with the troops. If you encounter him, kill him without mercy. The Holy Master had made his decision. With the chaos everywhere, It was time to show the world the strength of the sacred land. Day after day, the Tianlin general blended in with the troops and headed toward Stormwind Manor. When they were about to reach Stormwind Manor and pass through a mountain range, the Tianlin general's lazy eyes finally turned serious. If nothing went wrong, they should be able to encounter the murderer in this mountain range. Otherwise, once they passed through the mountain range and entered Stormwind Manor's territory, the murderer wouldn't be able to make a move. Everyone, keep your spirits up. We're about to reach Stormwind Manor. The captain in the lead said loudly. Everyone hurried forward. Whoosh! Suddenly, a dazzling light flashed and disappeared. Then, more than 10 people fell into a pool of blood. The Tianlin general looked down and saw that the necks of these people had been cut by a sharp weapon. Sword Qi, could it be a sword cultivator? The Tianlin general looked around and didn't find any trace of Fang Chen. He still chose to hide. Pucci. With another flash of sword light, dozens of devouring demons tribe members died at Fang Chen's hands. Just like that, after 5 consecutive attacks, the Tianlin general finally locked onto Fang Chen's position. The Tianlin general let out a low roar and leaped to the top of a towering tree not far away. Boom! The Tianlin general slammed out his palm and the towering tree instantly exploded. A figure appeared out of thin air. Bang bang bang! Fang Chen held the long sword in his hand and kept waving it, blocking the power of the explosion. He floated in mid-air and looked into the distance. He could clearly feel that the Tianlin general was very strong. It really is you, the Tianlin general said when he saw Fang Chen. When the number 1 prodigy fell, someone sent a spiritual portrait back to the Holy Land. They remembered it in their minds. Now that they saw Fang Chen, they recognized him at a glance. You're the one who killed the number 1 prodigy? A Holy Land general disguised himself as an ordinary saint and hid in the battle team. What a joke. Fang Chen grinned. He naturally knew about the demon devourer's Holy Land very well. He knew the appearance of the Holy Lord and the various generals like the back of his hand. Since you know that I'm the Tianlin general, you should be able to guess your fate, right? The Tianlin general sneered. Fang Chen shrugged, his battle intent erupting. I wonder how strong the generals of the Holy Land are. If you want to talk about sword masters of antiquity with more like-minded people, follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find friends Tilda. Chapter 40-30. The Skyforest General was one of the top warriors among the many warriors. His strength had reached an unimaginable level. The Holy Land was very confident in his abilities. After all, since the existence of the origin world, there had never been a task that a warrior could not complete. However, at this moment, Fang Chen faced the Skyforest General without a trace of fear. Instead, his battle intent erupted. I wonder how strong the Holy Land's warrior is. Fang Chen whispered, a faint smile on his face. Since stepping into the 12th Order Saint Realm, his strength had reached the peak of the Saint Realm. He was only 1 step away from touching the threshold of the Supreme Realm. Facing ordinary saints, he could almost kill them in an instant. He wanted to know how strong the Holy Land's warrior was. From this, he could infer the Holy Lord's strength. After all, in the absence of the devouring demon patriarch, the Holy Lord was the strongest battle force in the origin world. Fang Chen wanted to test the extent of his combat strength and whether he could fight against the Holy Lord. You're courting death. No one had ever dared to shout at a warrior like this. The Skyforest General was furious. A battle axe suddenly appeared in his hand. With a low roar, he chopped down with the battle axe in his hand. In an instant, the entire void distorted as if the world was about to collapse. With a crack, the battle axe bombarded Fang Chen's body, and his body directly collapsed. Seeing this, the Skyforest General's eyes flashed with a murderous intent. What he had just chopped down was Fang Chen's phantom. Die! He continued to hold the battle axe in his hand and continuously swung it. Every strike seemed to be able to shake heaven and earth. However, he could not catch Fang Chen's trace. After swinging dozens of times, he could not even touch Fang Chen's clothes. The Skyforest General was thoroughly enraged. Damn it! He looked up to the sky and let out an angry roar. His entire body burned with a huge flame. In an instant, the flame enveloped his entire body. In the next moment, he extracted the essence of the flame and then injected it into the battle axe. The battle axe immediately turned red, as if it had been burned by the flame. Rip! With a low shout, he unleashed the heaven-splitting 3 axes. When the battle axe sliced through the sky, the entire mountain range was directly split into 2. Wherever the terrifying aura passed, the void collapsed. The combat strength of the 2 was simply too strong. The destructive power was shocking. The commotion caused by the battle here was so great that it quickly spread to the Stormwind Manor. Countless people looked up and were shocked. What level of battle was this? It was too terrifying. Flames soar into the sky and a battle axe cleaves the world. It seems to be the heavenly forest warrior of the Holy Land. All of a sudden, a cry of surprise came from the crowd. Then, everyone was stunned. One of the many battle generals of the Holy Land, the Heavenly Forest Battle General, had actually personally taken action. Who exactly was he trying to kill? Could it be the culprit who had slain the #1 genius of the sanctum not too long ago? What powerful battle ripples! Everyone couldn't help but sigh. However, there were also some powerful people who quickly left the Windrain Mansion and approached the center of the battlefield. They wanted to see the situation clearly. Boom! A terrifying ripple spread out, and those who were too close to it died instantly. They didn't even have time to scream. 9th Order Saint Realm and even peak Saint Realm experts were killed. This scene deeply shocked many of the cultivators in the Windrain Mansion. They couldn't help but take a few steps back. Their eyes were filled with horror. The Heavenly Forest Battle General has taken action. That person is probably doomed. Yeah, the Heavenly Forest Battle General is a true expert who stands at the peak of the Saint Realm. His ultimate technique, the heaven-splitting 3 axes, is said to be able to split the heavens and earth. No one can stop him. It's a pity that we're too weak and can't watch the battle at close range. Otherwise, we might be able to comprehend the heaven-splitting 3 axes. A commotion broke out in the sky above the Wind and Rain Manor. Everyone carefully looked into the distance. Even though they were too far away to see anything clearly, they could still vaguely see the silhouettes of battle axes streaking across the sky. That should be the Sky Forest War General's sky-splitting 3 axes, right? At this time, the mountain range was destroyed by the 2's powerful battle strength. Above the ruins, the Heavenly Forest Battle General displayed the first of the heaven-splitting 3 axes. First axe, world-destroying axe. The Heavenly Forest Battle General roared. After the battle axe in his hand absorbed the essence of the flames, it directly expanded, turning into a 10,000-foot-long axe shadow. Then, under the Heavenly Forest Battle General's control, it slashed down. It looked like a simple attack without any fancy techniques, but in reality, its power surpassed any opponent Fang Chen had faced in the past. The heaven-splitting 3 axes? Fang Chen's eyes lit up, and he chuckled. Finally, he could fight without holding back. He took out his long sword and displayed the ultimate sword technique. After stepping into the 12th Order Saint Realm and condensing several hundred strands of ultimate force in his body, the power of his ultimate sword technique had reached an unimaginable level. At this moment, he displayed it again. A 10,000-foot-long sword light descended from the sky and collided with the axe shadow. Catcher. When the 2 collided, the 10,000-foot-long sword light was obviously stronger, and it directly shattered the axe shadow. Deng deng deng. The terrifying rebounding force sent the Heavenly Forest Battle General flying. The latter's hand trembled, and blood flowed out from the web between his thumb and forefinger. A small crack appeared on the battle axe. The power in his body was tumbling as he stared at Fang Chen in disbelief. How is this possible? What kind of sword technique was that just now? He could not imagine that there was actually someone who could block the first strike of his heaven-splitting 3 axes. Moreover, such exquisite and peerless swordsmanship was rarely seen in the world. Even the swordsmanship of another general who also cultivated in swordsmanship was far inferior to this person's swordsmanship. Who are you? The Heavenly Forest Battle General asked coldly. The person who could withstand his first axe was qualified to receive his respect. Therefore, He began to ask for the other party's name. At the very least, he should know who the person he killed was. Such a powerful person was definitely not a nameless person. He might even be an ancient powerhouse who had revived. The person who killed you, Fang Chen said. After the blow just now, he could already confirm that if the Heavenly Forest Battle General's combat strength was roughly at the level of the 11th level of the Saint Realm, and he was a genuine 12th level. His combat strength was not on the same level at all. However, the Heavenly Forest Battle General could barely reach the 12th level by relying on the heaven-splitting 3 axes, but only barely. Fang Chen could easily deal with him. "Mph, you boast shamelessly. I admit that you are very strong, the strongest person I have seen in so many years. But do you think that my strength is only so little?" The Heavenly Forest Battle General frowned and said coldly. The heaven-splitting 3 axes, each move stronger than the last. His real trump card was yet to come. Hum. As he spoke, the battle axe in his hand roared. The Heavenly Forest Battle General was accumulating power, preparing to use the second of the heaven-splitting 3 axes. He believed that even if this move could not defeat the other party, it could still injure him. At that time, he would use the third axe to reap the harvest. The Primordial Sword Venerable wanted to talk about Primordial Sword Venerable with more like-minded people. He followed excellent reading literature on WeChat chat about life. Find Confidence Tilda. Chapter 4031. The first of the heaven-splitting 3 axes. The moment the battle axe was brandished, the heavens and earth changed color. The Sky Forest General's aura soared to the extreme, and there was a kind of power in his body. Boom! The Tianlin General bellowed. His battle axe carried with it an unparalleled power. It tore through the void and viciously chopped towards Fang Chen. However, to his surprise, Fang Chen only used his physical defense to block his first attack. How is this possible? The Sky Forest General exclaimed. However, he was a sacred land general after all. Over the countless years, he had encountered countless pinnacle powerhouses. He was only surprised for a moment before he continued to use the second move. The second of the heaven-splitting 3 axes. This move targeted the primordial spirit of a martial artist. Even a primordial spirit of the Tao manifestation realm would find it difficult to resist the power of this move. The Sky Forest General had used this move to kill dozens of pinnacle saint powerhouses. Moreover, it had been a long time since anyone had forced him to use this move. The last time he was forced to use the second move was when he was fighting against a powerhouse of a foreign race who had touched the threshold of supremacy. World annihilation. The Sky Forest General roared, and the power around him surged. He instantly chopped out the second time, and a destructive power erupted. The mountain range was instantly annihilated. Boom! 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 The battle axe and the longsword collided, and the sword light and the axe shadow collided. With the two of them as the center, a terrifying storm swept through the heavens and earth. A deafening sound reverberated through the universe. Crack! A crack appeared on the battle axe, and the longsword was surrounded by a thick ultimate power. In the face of ultimate power, the Sky Forest General's heaven-splitting 3 axes was useless. What kind of power is this? Dong! The moment the crack on the axe grew larger, the Sky Forest General knew that his second attack was useless against the person in front of him. Now it seemed that he was quite capable to be able to kill the #1 prodigy of a sacred land. With his combat strength, there were very few in the entire Origin realm who could defeat him. Even the other generals might not be his match. This kind of power actually makes me feel fear. Could it be the legendary ultimate power? The Sky Forest General was shocked. The legendary ultimate power was the source of all power. It had the power to move mountains and drain seas, and it had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. He did not expect to encounter it. You are someone from the Chaos Realm? The Sky Forest War General seemed to realize something. It was said that when the people of the Chaos Realm cultivated to the extreme, they would be able to nurture the ultimate power. Ultimate sword technique. Fang Chen roared as he became one with his sword. The ultimate energy in his body was fully activated, and a boundless energy soared into the sky. The Sky Forest General was incomparably shocked. He hurriedly used the ultimate killing move of the heaven-splitting 3 axes, the third axe. Let's fight. Actually, I do. Using the third chop, even he would have to pay a heavy price. If he couldn't kill his opponent, he would lose his combat ability for a short period of time, and his life would be in danger. However, in the face of this overwhelming ultimate power, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and unleash the third move. Boom! Boom! The moment the third move was unleashed, it was as if the entire world was filled with axe shadows. However, a resplendent sword light cut a bloody path out of it. Whoosh! A heart-palpitating power emanated from the sword light. At this moment, the ultimate power exploded with unimaginable power. Furthermore, the power of the devouring demon clan was completely suppressed by the ultimate power. Fang Chen was also somewhat stunned. In the past, when he faced the devouring demon clan, the ultimate power had not displayed such suppressive power. However, against the Sky Forest General, the effect was so obvious. What was going on? Could it be the devouring demon clan's power in the Sky Forest General's body was the most orthodox? The people he had encountered in the past were not pure and had some impurities mixed in. Hence, the ultimate power was not so obvious. Catcher. The Sky Forest General's devouring demon bloodline was activated to the extreme, and his entire body was completely demonized. However, Fang Chen was already prepared and activated his perfect bloodline. How is this possible? The perfect bloodline was the only nemesis of the devouring demon bloodline. When Fang Chen fully activated it, it directly crushed the Sky Forest General in an unstoppable manner. Catcher. The blood in the Sky Forest General's body instantly dried up. His axe was entangled by the ultimate power and could not move. No, at this moment, the Sky Forest General finally felt a trace of despair. Ever since he had become a general, he had followed the Sacred Lord to war and had killed countless foreign races at the peak of the Saint Realm. He had also been fortunate enough to witness a great battle between supremes. He would never have dreamed that he would fall into the hands of this guy in front of him. Chaos Realm. The Sky Forest General wanted to send the news back, but he was suppressed by the ultimate power and the perfect bloodline. He could not move at all, and he could not even send a message with his primordial spirit. Run. The Sky Forest General burned his blood essence and destroyed the battle axe, causing it to explode. A terrifying shockwave instantly spread out and enveloped Fang Chen. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he desperately fled. However, it was useless. Since he had exposed his perfect bloodline and ultimate power, how could he let the Sky Forest General escape? Whoosh! Fang Chen blocked the Sky Forest General's path with a speed that was invisible to the naked eye. The latter had forcibly used the third move, and his combat strength had sharply decreased. He was no match for Fang Chen. Catcher. The sharp long sword pierced the Sky Forest General's chest. The latter's eyes widened and he opened his mouth several times. However, his throat seemed to be blocked and he could not speak. Boom! The long sword flipped and completely crushed the Sky Forest General's heart. Then, the power of the Soul Tao attacked the primordial spirit and crushed it. Dong! The Sky Forest General's corpse slowly fell to the ground and lost all signs of life. At this point, for the first time in hundreds of millions of years, a sacred land general had died. Fang Chen put away his long sword and looked at the corpse on the ground. His heart was filled with thoughts. In terms of overall strength, he could definitely crush the Sky Forest General. However, the latter was from the Demon Devourer race and could use the power of heaven and earth to unleash a higher level of strength. This was a tricky problem. If he wanted to kill the general, he had to expose his ultimate power and perfect bloodline. This was not a small problem for him. Moreover, after the death of a general, the other generals of the Sacred Land would definitely be cautious. It would probably be difficult to encounter a lone general in the future. Moreover, based on the Sky Forest General, Fang Chen roughly deduced that the strength of the Sacred Land's Sacred Lord had definitely reached the 13th level, or even the peak of the 13th level. Huff! Fang Chen took a deep breath and burned the corpse. Then, he quietly left. No matter what, the horn of war had sounded. This was an excellent opportunity that he would not let go of. As long as the demon devourer race's patriarch did not appear, the sacred lord alone would not be able to do anything to him. He could use guerrilla warfare to defeat the demon devourer race one by one and continuously weaken their strength. Then, with the help of the underworld army, he would completely crush the sacred land. If you want to chat with more like-minded people about primordial sword supremacy, follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find friends tilde. Chapter 4032. Holy Land of the Devouring Demon Clan. The sacred leader was in the middle of a discussion with the other generals on how to destroy the underworld army. Suddenly, a servant rushed in. "What's the matter? Why are you so flustered?" One of the generals seemed displeased as he scolded harshly. "Don't you know that this is a high-level meeting?" Another general said angrily. The warrior who had rushed in to report the news knelt on the ground with a thud, his body trembling. He lowered his head, not daring to look at the crowd. Everyone present was a peak powerhouse in the origin world. They could kill him with a single thought. "All right, what's the matter?" the sacred master asked. Normally, no one was allowed to enter such a high-level meeting. However, this person had risked his life to barge in. It should be something important. "Is it related to the underworld army?" a general asked. This person's body trembled violently as he said in a hoarse voice, "The Skyforest General, he has fallen." The moment this was said, the entire meeting hall fell silent. Everyone's faces were filled with disbelief. After a long while, the sacred master broke the silence and asked in a low voice, "What did you say?" "The Skyforest General has fallen?" The person who had reported the news took out the shattered life slip of the Skyforest General. When everyone saw it, they were instantly stunned. How is this possible? Some people even jumped up from their chairs. What kind of joke was this? The Skyforest General was ranked in the top 3 among all the generals. His strength was so strong that even the sacred master might not be able to kill him if he attacked with all his strength. One had to know that for powerhouses at this level, killing and defeating were two completely different concepts. Defeating someone was simple. As long as one's combat strength was stronger than his and completely suppressed him, it was enough. However, to kill him, one's combat strength had to be at least 3 times higher than the Skyforest General's, or even more. What happened? There was no meaning in saying this now. The Skyforest General's life slip had shattered, which meant that he had completely fallen. His body and soul had been destroyed. This was a huge blow to the sacred master. Even if they had suffered heavy casualties when dealing with the underworld army, it would not have much of an impact on the sacred master. However, the death of a general would hurt the foundation of the sacred master. How could the sacred master not be angry? This matter had to be investigated thoroughly. No matter who it was, daring to kill a general of the sacred master was provoking the entire devouring demon clan. As soon as I found out, I rushed over to report it. "Let's go and take a look at the life slip pavilion." The Saint Lord's figure flashed and left the conference hall. The other generals also followed him to the life slip pavilion. Everyone's life slips were placed here. As long as they sent people to keep an eye on the slips, they would know the situation of the experts who were out on missions. Wang. The sacred leader waved his sleeve and a vast amount of energy surrounded his body. A strange aura came out from his palm and condensed into a thread that extended to the place where the Tianlin General's life slip was placed. When the thread came into contact with the life slip, the sacred leader closed his eyes and began to sense it. The sacred lord was proficient in the laws of cause and effect. He could find his enemies through cause and effect. Buzz. Seeing that the Holy Master seemed to be in pain, the other generals behind him activated their powers to protect the Holy Master. After a long while, the sacred leader withdrew his hand. A cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. "It's in the Windy Rain mountain range outside the Windy Rain Manor," the sacred master said coldly. "I'll go and take his head now," one of the generals said angrily. However, he was stopped by the other generals. Since the Tianlin general had been killed, they would be sending themselves to their deaths if they went. The death of one of the generals was already a huge blow to the sacred ground. If another one died, the sacred leader would definitely go crazy. "I'll go personally." the sacred leader said coldly. In the next instant, he left the sacred ground. After killing the Tianlin general in the Windy Rain mountain range, Fang Chen had gained a lot. He had obtained countless cultivation resources from the Tianlin general's spatial ring. He had also obtained the supreme cultivation technique of the devouring demon clan. Most importantly, he had obtained a drop of the devouring demon clan's blood essence. This was no ordinary blood essence. It was the sovereign blood essence. Fang Chen suspected that it was the blood essence of the devouring demon clan's patriarch. He looked at the bright red blood in his palm and his body trembled. He was extremely excited. This was the sovereign blood essence. It was of great help to him. How extravagant. Fang Chen couldn't help but sigh. The sacred ground had actually bestowed the blood essence to the generals. It was a pity that this drop of blood essence was obtained by him. As everyone knew, after cultivating to the sovereign realm, the blood in one's body would transform into a pure power of heaven and earth. The sovereigns would condense the blood essence and bestow it to their descendants for cultivation. If a drop of sovereign blood essence was used, it could raise a warrior's cultivation realm in a short period of time. Their combat strength would soar instantly. Not only could it save their lives, but it could also kill their enemies. Thinking about it, the devouring demon clan's patriarch must have left a lot of blood essence reserves for the sacred ground. This drop of blood essence is mine. Fang Chen happily put away the blood essence. Just as he was about to leave, his primordial spirit suddenly trembled. He felt a strange aura. This is karma. He had cultivated with Jiaoju of the Jialuo clan and had gone deep into the reincarnation road. He was very clear about the power of reincarnation. It was a power that could be linked to karma. The power of karma had appeared above the Tianlin general's corpse. It was obvious that the people of the sacred ground knew about the Tianlin general's death and used karma to find his location. Let's go. Fang Chen chose to leave without another word. However, it was too late. The sacred lord was the master of the sacred ground. He was also the strongest person after the devouring demon clan's patriarch. His thoughts were connected to the world and could cross the river of time with a single thought. Rumble. A deafening sound echoed through the sky. A giant face appeared out of thin air. Thief, how dare you kill my sacred ground's general? Die. The eyes on the giant face shot out a terrifying light that destroyed the Windy Rain mountain range. Wang. Fang Chen activated the ultimate power in his body and formed a strong defense to block the giant face's attack. You want to kill me with just a thought? Fang Chen snorted coldly and took the initiative to attack. He used his strongest ultimate sword technique and activated hundreds of ultimate power in his body to destroy the giant face. Catcher. The two clashed. The long sword pierced the giant face at an unimaginable angle. However, the giant face's attack was easily neutralized by Fang Chen. This is. The giant face was shocked as it recognized the ultimate power. However, it was too late. By the time it reacted, it had already been pierced by the long sword. With a crash, the sacred lord's thought dissipated. Rumble. A deafening sound echoed through the sky. Accompanied by the sacred lord's towering anger, he descended. However, Fang Chen had already disappeared without a trace. Damn it! The sacred lord was enraged, and the Windy Rain mountain range was annihilated. Even the surrounding 100 miles had turned into hell. The martial artists in the Windy Rain manor were trembling as they prostrated themselves on the ground. It was as though a god had descended upon them. They felt fear deep in their hearts. Humph, as long as you are in the source world, I don't believe that you can escape from me. The sacred lord looked down at the world and said coldly. For the most up-to-date and accurate reading, please visit mobile phone : If you want to talk about primordial sword supremacy with more like-minded people, follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find friends . Chapter 4033. When the sacred lord was angry, millions of corpses would fall. When the news of Tianlin's death reached the sacred land, everyone knew that the origin world would fall into a period of chaos. After countless years, the sacred lord would strike again. All the generals were also waiting. They also wanted to know how strong the Holy Lord was. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as the Sacred Lord descended on the Windrain mountain range, the vast power around him instantly annihilated the void. In the blink of an eye, the Windrain mountain range no longer existed and turned into ruins. Far away in the Windrain Manor, everyone could feel their hearts palpitating. That fear came from the depths of their bloodline. Only the purest bloodline of the demon-devouring clan could trigger such a terrifying power. Too strong. Did the Sacred Lord strike? For a time, the entire Origin world was abuzz with the news. Countless members of the devouring demon clan raised their heads in anticipation, hoping that the Sacred Lord would personally come to the Ghost Manor territory and completely annihilate the underworld army. You can't escape. The Sacred Lord's mind was connected to the world. As long as it was in the Origin world, he could sense it. His eyes shot out a disdainful gaze as he swept a glance into the distance and instantly found the place where Fang Chen had disappeared. Die! The Sacred Lord roared as a large hand stretched out, directly penetrating the void and grabbing at Fang Chen. However, just as the large hand was about to touch him, there was a sudden change. Fang Chen's entire body disappeared without a trace. Even the Sacred Lord could not sense his existence. What's going on? The Sacred Lord frowned. With a thought, he came to the place where Fang Chen had disappeared. He closed his eyes and seriously tried to sense, but it ended in failure. I can't sense him. After a long time, the Sacred Lord suspected that an expert had secretly helped to conceal his aura, so he could not find him for the time being. It seems that there are quite a lot of foreign races in the Origin world. Fine, I'll use this opportunity to eliminate all of you. The Sacred Lord even suspected that it might be the primitive races. He immediately returned to the Sacred Land and gathered the other generals to discuss this matter. He also sent people to the life-forbidden zone to find out if the primitive races had made any unusual movements. The information he received was that the primitive tribes did not have any abnormalities. Hearing this, the sacred leader narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice, "The primitive tribes did not make a move. Then, the expert who interfered with me that day should be a remnant of the chaotic world." Back then, when the Origin world had just been established, the Sacred Lord had followed the Demon Devourer Patriarch into the Chaos Realm. Over the countless years, many remnants of the Chaos Realm had infiltrated the Origin world. These trash from the Chaos Realm, sooner or later, they will be completely destroyed by us. One of the generals said angrily. Damned primal Chaos Realm. After we're done with the underworld, we'll deal with them. It seems like the Battle of Gods back then didn't defeat them. If that's the case, the Battle of Extinction can begin. Many battle generals expressed their opinions. In the end, they came to a unanimous decision. The battle generals would lead their troops to search for the foreign races. If they found any, they would be killed without mercy. At the same time, the Ghost Manor continued to send reinforcements until the Netherworld army was completely annihilated. Of course, the Saint Lord couldn't act rashly. He had to oversee the Holy Land and prevent the primitive races from reaping the benefits. In a secluded forest, Fang Chen's body fell to the ground with a thud. He shook his head hard, feeling a little dizzy. "You rascal, you're too reckless." Suddenly, a voice sounded. Fang Chen was stunned. He looked up and saw countless familiar figures appear in front of him. These were the awakened experts in slumber that he'd met in the Cliff of Death. There were fishermen, starmen, and experts like Great Emperor Miayu. "You guys," Fang Chen was stunned. He hadn't expected them to come. "If we didn't come out, you would have been killed by the Saint Lord." The one who spoke was Great Emperor Miayu. He exuded an unapproachable aura. However, he was from the chaotic boundary after all. Therefore, he was still concerned about Fang Chen's life. The Saint Lord is very strong. He has one foot in the chaotic supreme realm. Although you can protect yourself from him, his will is connected to the world. He can track you down with a single thought. You can't escape at all. At this time, fighting with the Saint Lord wasn't a good idea. The Saint Lord is really strong. Fang Chen sighed. Although he had reached the peak of the 12th Order True Saint realm and was only a step away from the 13th Order, He knew that he was no match for the Saint Lord. Of course. Starman said, in terms of battle strength, we are on the same level as the Saint Lord. However, even if we join forces, we may not be able to kill him. That's because he is the Saint Lord of the Holy Ground. His position in the Devouring Devil clan is second only to the Devouring Devil Patriarch. After the Devouring Devil Patriarch is gone, he is the strongest expert in the Origin World. He can activate the core energy ball of the Origin World and merge with it. Fang Chen was shocked when he heard that. Activating the core energy ball of the Origin World and merging with it. Wasn't that a little too exaggerated? If that was really the case, wouldn't the Saint Lord be immortal and indestructible? The fisherman shook his head and smiled. Don't think too much about it. When you step into the 13th Order True Saint realm, you will naturally be able to fight him. At that time, we will assist you and destroy the Origin World in one fell swoop. The complete cultivation system of the ancient civilization was at the 13th Order True Saint realm. At the peak, it was comparable to the Supremacy realm. Even if the Saint Lord merged with the Origin World, it would not be enough. The Devouring Devil Patriarch is gone. Clearly, Fang Chen had captured an important piece of information. You should have been to the abyss below the snow mountain, right? Asked the fisherman. Fang Chen nodded. He had indeed been there and had entered the void dimension. He had seen the huge face and the massive treasury. You can say that the void dimension you see is only a small part of the void dimension's energy barrier. Back then, our Chaos Realm ancestors paid a heavy price for it. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the Devouring Devil Patriarch first. Didn't Gui Zong tell you? Asked the fisherman. The bald monk at the bottom of the abyss was Monk Gui Zong. He was also from the Chaos Realm. No. The Devouring Devil clan announced to the outside world that their patriarch is in seclusion. However, we received news that he entered the world gap in order to seek a breakthrough. He hasn't returned after so many years. We guessed that he got lost in the world gap and can't return, said the fisherman. That's why we old fellows at the Cliff of Death came out of seclusion together and gave it our all, said Star Elder. Great Emperor Mier Yu nodded as well. The only worry in his heart was Lung Xian, who was sleeping in the Soul River. However, saving the Chaos Realm was his top priority. Behind these few old fellows stood many old men. They were the cultivators of the primal Chaos Realm who had been sleeping at the Death Cliff back then. You have to advance to the 13th Order as soon as possible. When the time comes, we will launch an all-out attack on the Devouring Devil clan. Primordial Sword Lord. Chapter 4034. The power of the Cliff of Death could not be ignored. In particular, those who were able to appear here were all experts who had once reached the pinnacle. They had been injured in the great battle and had fallen into a deep slumber. Among them, the fisherman, the starman, and the great Emperor Mier Yu were the best. They were also leaders. When Fang Chen was training at the Cliff of Death, they had more or less helped him. However, at that time, it was not time for them to appear. Now that the Underworld Army and the Holy Land Army were at war, these old fellows felt that the time was right. On behalf of the people of the Chaotic Realm, I thank all of you for your help. Fang Chen cupped his fists and thanked them. Everything is for the sake of the Chaotic Realm, said Star Elder. That's right. The Chaotic Realm is our home. If we can't even protect our home, then what's the point of living? In the following time, everyone began to discuss how to weaken the power of the Devouring Demon clan. In fact, in the vast Origin world, the forces of the various prefectures were nothing. The core power of the Devouring Demon clan was the Holy Land. As long as the Holy Land was destroyed, the Devouring Demon clan would naturally be destroyed. However, it was extremely difficult to destroy the Holy Land. In the end, Emperor Mier Yu and the others made a suggestion. They would each lead a group of people to secretly slaughter the Devouring Demon clan in various parts of the Origin world, causing the Holy Land to be badly battered. Then, under the pressure of the Underworld Army of the Sector Lord, they would take the opportunity to force the Holy Land's generals out. When the time came, Fang Chen would personally kill the generals. Although all of them were awakened powerhouses in deep slumber, their strength had been greatly reduced after a long period of slumber. They could not kill the sacred land's warlords. Fang Chen's strength was the strongest among everyone present. He shouldered the heavy responsibility of saving the Chaos Realm, and everyone seemed to regard him as their leader. Seniors, if we split up, won't the Holy Lord defeat us one by one? Fang Chen was a little worried. The Holy Lord's thoughts were connected to the world. He was a peak expert second only to the devouring demon clan's patriarch. He had one foot in the chaotic supremacy realm and was only one step away from success. It was said that the patriarch of the devouring demon clan was frantically searching for treasures in the world gap. He wanted to create another supremacy of the devouring demon clan. Therefore, the Holy Lord could not be allowed to become a supremacy. The final battle was about to arrive. Everyone felt a sense of urgency. This time, they could only succeed. Failure was not an option. Don't worry. Although the Divine Lord is omnipotent, we aren't pushovers either. Even if we can't defeat him, escaping isn't a problem. Great Emperor Mieu said, besides, if we really can't do it, we can just hide in the mirage in the abyss of the Great Snow Mountain. He won't dare to enter the mirage even if he has 100 guts. In the ethereal extent, there was a trump card left behind by the experts of the Chaos world. If the Saint Lord dared to enter the ethereal extent, he would die without a doubt. After thinking for a moment, Fang Chen finally agreed to everyone's request and said, no matter what, please be careful. Great Emperor Mieu prepared to go to the Great Snow Mountain to discuss important matters with Tan Qing and the others. The fisherman, on the other hand, prepared to go to the life-forbidden zone. He wanted to see if the primitive races could help. As for Starwang, he was prepared to enter the Ghost Manor battlefield and negotiate with the Underworld army. If the life-forbidden zone is willing to help, we can promise to give the origin world to them after the devouring demon clan is destroyed. However, they have to swear that they will never invade the Chaos world. This was the bottom line of the people of the Chaos world. Also, we have to be wary of the Underworld army. They are the most evil creatures. Even if we use their power to destroy the devouring demon clan, we have to find an opportunity to destroy them. The Underworld army would only be a disaster if they stayed. Then I'll continue to wander and look for lone warriors, Fang Chen said. Okay, let's split up. Not long after, the crowd disappeared without a trace. Fang Chen stood on the treetop and looked into the distance. Soon, he chose a direction and rushed off. The Divine Lord's original body stood in the forbidden zone of the sacred ground. In front of him was a round ball. This round ball was very special. Every time it turned, the scene of the various regions of the origin world would appear on it, and the names of the warriors would also appear. This round ball was called the Sky Overseer, which meant to monitor the world. Only the Divine Lord of each generation could control it. Once the Sky Overseer was activated, they could clearly see the situation in every corner of the origin world. This way, there would be no place for the foreign races to hide. Buzz. Under the Divine Lord's control, small red dots constantly appeared on the Sky Overseer. Each red dot represented a foreign race. Soon, the red dots covered more than half of the Sky Overseer. Humph. The Divine Lord snorted coldly. For so many years, the devouring demon clan had turned a blind eye. He had not expected so many foreign races to sneak in. Pass down my orders. Let the warriors lead the army and kill all the foreign races in the origin world. In addition, the Divine Lord also deliberately searched for Fang Chen's tracks. However, to his surprise, Fang Chen's tracks were erratic. Using the Sky Overseer, he could vaguely detect Fang Chen's location. However, Fang Chen's movements were almost invisible to the naked eye. This meant that Fang Chen was constantly moving. I've said it before. As long as you are in the origin world, you can forget about escaping from me. The Divine Lord pointed his finger. Immediately, a small red dot in the Sky Overseer was pointed at by him. In the next instant, the power of heaven and earth in the origin world spread out and condensed into a mark that landed on Fang Chen's body. Buzz. Immediately after, the Divine Lord locked onto Fang Chen's position. Are you ready to meet your death? The Divine Lord looked down on all living beings with a sinister smile. At this moment, many warriors in the sacred ground had led their respective armies and set off. The battle in the Ghost Manor's territory had been temporarily suppressed. The underworld army had suffered heavy casualties and would not launch a large-scale attack for the time being. They could use this time to eliminate all the foreign races in the origin world. This way, the origin world would be one big city. No one would be able to provide strength to the underworld army. Their battle fortress would collapse on its own. Thinking of this, the Divine Lord exuded an aura that looked down on the world. His entire being seemed to have become one with heaven and earth. The Great Snow Mountain. The first envoy, Tan Qing, directly revealed his identity as the Lord of the Great Snow Mountain and killed those who did not belong to his faction. Then, Great Emperor Mie Yu arrived. They began to discuss countermeasures against the devouring demons. At the same time, the fishermen also entered the life-forbidden zone and began to negotiate with the primitive tribes. As for Xing Wang, with the help of Fang Chen, he successfully entered the Ghost Manor's territory and bypassed many obstacles. He successfully met the highest leader of the underworld. At the same time, at the end of the reincarnation road in the chaotic realm, the great sovereign pinched his fingers and calculated. With a solemn expression, he began to clean up the chaotic forces in the chaotic realm. This day was known as the day that changed the fate of the chaotic realm. If you want to talk about immemorial sword sovereign with more like-minded people, follow excellent literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find a confidant Tilda.